We're recording.
Yeah, man. Do our intros just keep getting worse? I think they do.
I don't think so.
We
have an upcoming guest, and when I sent her a list, I said, please, God, whatever you do. Well, I said, please do not start with episode 1. It takes everyone some time to learn what they're doing.
And we still haven't.
Well,
hold on. Maybe we need to start doing a new thing every week. Here, let me try this week's. Bonehead. Filmed before a captive audience. Don't you dare move. Don't you dare move.
A captioned audience. Just sitting there typing. All they're typing
in front
is,
of a closed captioned audience.
all they're typing is B O O O O O O O O. No, that spells boo.
I actually was going with BL.
No, there's probably somebody that's linked to Joe that does that for a while and then ends it with another B though.
That'd be me. Let's be honest here.
Speaking of boobs, what's today's topic?
Oh,
Movies.
So we
Movie
have
films.
Booby films. That's right.
No, that's not what I said.
We've got Russ Meyer. You thought he was dead, but gentlemen, we've got him back.
Oh God, the fact that I've seen the majority of his catalog is not something I'm proud of.
But wouldn't it have been cool to interview Russ Meyer?
Oh God, yeah, hell yes.
I would have killed to interview Russ Meyer.
Oh, dude, actually, in all fairness, we'd interview Russ McKay.
I would interview Russell McKay. He actually did one of my favorite of those Resident Evil movies. That's the one he did the one that we went to Vegas, right?
Vegas, baby. You're so
now, people are going to want to ask him Highlander questions. Not this guy.
I will ask him one.
You're going to tell me about Christopher Lee and Tales from the Mummy or whatever you directed.
What does Christopher Lambert smell like? Is it pears?
Oh, no. You two would ask him a bunch of questions about The Shadow.
I know what evil lurks in the hearts of men, Joe.
Yeah.
It's boobies. It's boobies. Sorry. Anyway, what's today's topic, Chad?
So in the previous, in past episodes, we've covered 2 years because those were.
It took us 3. It took us 3. In the last 152 episodes, the Boneheads have covered 2 years. It took them 3. An hour and a half to watch 60 minutes.
No, so we covered 2 years in cinema history that were significant to us. And we got to talking, and we thought that there was another year that, again, was significant to us and cinema as a whole. And
we've actually got 2 more that we want to do, but we're doing this one.
Yeah, right. So that would be 1994.
Yeah.
It was a big year for us in terms of, especially me. Two of those movies that inspired me and still are a significant impact on me happened in this year. We'll cover those when we get to those points. Didn't
Milo and Otis come out before this?
Yes, I think Milo and Otis came out in '89.
That's what I thought. So which movies is he talking about? I know. If he gives me one more dialogue,
I know. And every time he brings up boobs, I think of Milo and Otis.
Every time. Why does every time I try to have a philosophical conversation with Chad, it's let me tell you about what Milo and Otis would say about it. They're a cat and a dog, Chad. They got nothing to do with this.
Yes, they do. It was narrated by Dudley Moore, and let's all face it, he is the poor man's Peter Cook. Now, that is
prefer
an obscure-ass joke for 3 people out there.
Like I said,
and 2 of them are mad about it.
And one of them's on this show. Keep going, Jeff.
I prefer Homeward Bound. And wasn't like a lot of Milos killed in that movie?
Huh?
Wasn't there a lot of Milos and they all died? I might be mistaking that with another movie.
I don't know. What? Don't ruin that. That's one of that movie's a national treasure.
I'm going to look that up in the middle. But no, so
by the way, no, now in the middle of my mind, I just picture, where should I put this box full of Milo stunt doubles? I don't know. Put it over near the lawnmower. Why did they do that, Chad?
I don't know.
But in the previous past 2 episodes, we're going to do what we normally did. James is going to go through the box office for each week.
The national United States theatrical releases.
Yeah, of 1994. And we're going to talk about those movies.
United States? Why did I bring up Botswana? Hold on, I'll fix it.
Well, you were down there for a year, you and Wally, trying to find work as lumberjacks.
There ain't no work for Botswanian lumberjacks. I know Wally probably doesn't even watch this anymore, but that's for you.
They don't have any flannel down there. So yeah, the lumberjack occupation is just down the toilet.
So, all right.
No, so, but we're gonna do something a little different this time around because 1994 was significant for me in terms of I was generally watching usually those that came straight to VHS or had a limited release and would not be on the list that James compiled. So I actually did research for 1994 and came up with quite an interesting list of my own that I'm going to interject in as James goes forward.
Really quick, let's all say where we were at in 19. So were we all in high school? Let's see, you were a freshman, Chad. I was probably a sophomore, junior in high school.
For the life of him, he cannot remember.
We were all three in high school.
He thought that he was wise and would never compromise.
I think
he was but a freshman.
You graduated in 98, right?
And I was in 8th grade / high school.
Okay, so high school. I was in high school. James, you were in that
James is in the same. James is the exact same age as me.
I was in senior high school. Actually, I'm a Highlander, Chad. I know I look like this, but I'm actually only.
Actually, James is slightly older than you, right?
By a month.
That's more like 2.
Oh, look at the whippersnapper yelling at me! Get off my lawn, Chad.
All right, boys.
But before
that 1 month made all the difference.
Let's. I did look up briefly what all happened in 1994, and it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize all this happened in 1994. Nancy Kerrigan was attacked.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton was accused of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
As he was wont to do during his presidency.
As he was wont to do.
O.J. Simpson was arrested.
I remember that.
Of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Kurt
He
Cobain
ruined Hasselhoff's career.
Yes. What?
David Hasselhoff's national premiere in the United States for his concert was the same night that OJ was on the road.
Oh, well, if the New York Knicks were playing as well, and we're getting into some history. All I cared about was the New York Knicks. I was a big fan of Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing, and I couldn't watch the God-blessed game because they kept cutting to Al Cowling driving that stupid Bronco, and I couldn't watch that game. And it was
You're also forgetting that violent wildfires destroyed 286,000 acres in Montana in 1994, but thankfully we have no wildfires now.
You were saying, Chad?
What year? Not Kurt Cobain died. Very tragically in 1994.
Is it tragically when he? I guess, yeah, it is tragic.
It's tragic, but also too. Here's all the other people we lost in 1994. Burt Lancaster.
Yeah.
Even more tragic than Kurt Cobain, we lost John Candy.
Ooh, I didn't realize John Candy died in 94.
He died in 94. Jessica Tandy.
Yeah, she's a national treasure.
Richard Nixon.
Also a national.
And for James, Cab Calloway died.
Oh, no, Cab Calloway.
Let me tell you a story, Chad, about many of them.
Out of all those, I think John Candy's probably the one who still is talked about.
Candy was John Candy's death was the most impact on me.
Yeah,
in terms of his
Jessica
death.
Tandy was a phenomenal actress, but her name just doesn't come up the same as John Candy's.
No.
Well, I was going to say, by the way, other things happened in pop culture though that were really big at the time was the daughter of the King of Rock and Roll married the King of Pop.
Oh, that happened. I didn't know that happened.
Lisa
I didn't have
Marie
that in my
Presley.
list.
Yep, Lisa Marie Presley marries Michael
What was
Jackson.
going on? What was in the water in 1994?
I don't know, but Bryan Adams was one of the year's most popular musicians. So,
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God, music in 94 sucked then.
Let me talk about some of the top songs from 1991, 1994. I Swear by All For One.
Awful.
I'll Make Love to You by Boys to Men.
in front of
Is that a song or an offer? Or are you like my man's?
We've already been
What
down
do you
this
call
road.
it?
We've already been down this road. Neither of us were fulfilled. We're not going back down that road.
What road?
By Coolio, Fantastic Voyage.
Ride,
I don't even know it.
Really?
You probably have to play it for
Ride,
me.
Slippity Slide.
Oh, that's called Fantastic Voyage?
Yes.
You know, when people say Fantastic Voyage to me, I oddly enough think of a movie where someone goes into someone else's body.
Is that Irvin Allen directed that?
That is Irvin Allen's
I thought so.
Fantastic Voyage.
And another significant in terms of music for me, Basket Case by Green Day was released in 1994.
Once again, when someone says basket case to me, I think of that thing that's growing on your shoulder, Chad.
Yeah. From the album Dookie.
Ah,
The Sign by Ace of Base.
I saw that.
And I put this one on here specifically for James. The Crash Test Dummies.
Once there was this boy.
Oh boy.
You left out Blind Melon's No Rain.
I did because I wanted to talk about the Crash Test Dummies. If he's pretty plain.
I got to be honest. Out of all those songs, Blind Rain or Melon, Blind Melon Jelly and No Rain is what I still listen to. I want my daddy's records. Once again, there's a joke for you,
well,
Mr.
hold on.
Kevin Shelton.
Hold on, Joe. In 1994, I'm sure there was still some people listening to Hold On Loosely, so we can add that.
How about
But don't
Phil
let
Collins?
go.
Phil Collins had a few hits that year too, as did Sting.
Geez, this isn't going to be a two-parter, isn't it? Because we haven't even got to the movie yet. It's
so
not
let's,
even January.
with that being said,
Hey,
let's get
Hold on. One more music reference. You didn't mention Erasure.
Oh, I love Erasure.
I know.
Erasure was
I actually
huge
ordered
then.
Erasure's greatest hits the other day off of eBay. It just got
That's
here.
a thing?
Hold on.
It
Is
is.
it
There's 3 songs on it.
I'm
That
saying, is it two? Is it
and
two
they left
songs?
the one of them off.
Boys, we only got 4 hit songs, but let's make Joe mad and leave them off.
They really did leave the one in the 90s off. And I was pissed driving because I only listened. I was going to teach and was by myself with the windows down Richmond Road. I can imagine, who's the fat redneck listening to Erasure in the pickup truck? Nobody knew what they were. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Are you going to start?
Before James, before you get into January 1, there were 2 movies that I should mention that actually I couldn't find the actual date that they were released in January. He just said January 1994. The Floundering.
Never heard of it.
In this scathing and subversive social comedy, life in post-right Los Angeles is dissected under the sardonic eye of John Boys. It stars, and I kind of want to see this just for the cast. John Cusack, Jeremy Pivens, Steve Buscemi, and Billy Bob Thornton.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it either until I did my research. And then L.A. Wars. When the war on the streets becomes personal, no one
Are you sure
is
it's
safe.
not? Are you sure it's not La Wars? It could be a foreign film.
Based on the description, no, because Guzman, a small-time drug lord, takes on Giovanni, the biggest mafia boss in L.A., igniting a war. James, go.
Go, James. What's the first weekend? So
January-
I can shite on it.
This actually premiered on a Saturday. It actually came out the Saturday after, which is weird. But they wanted to have a January 1st release date. I refer, of course, to the film Desert Winds,
No idea.
Yep.
starring Heather Graham and Michael A. Nichols, directed and written.
There's
by
only
Michael
one
A.
Heather
Nichols.
Graham.
Huh?
You said Heather Graham's.
Now this she's possessive in this. No, Desert Winds. Here's actually the plot
Only
to Desert
Graham's
Winds.
James knows are the.
Is it just them in the Sahara
No,
farting?
it's actually the crack. I only know graham crackers actually. Anyway,
some s'mores last night.
here's the plot. I just wanted to read the plot. Jackie and Eugene are joined by a mystical wind tunnel which enables them to speak across a 500-mile desert. Believed by the Indians to be an omen of good luck, the wind inspires both characters to face their fears and follow their hearts. I've never seen it.
It happened to me once.
You were on peyote.
Yeah.
So the
there
first,
wasn't a wind tunnel either. It was just a really big fan.
I'm a really big fan.
You
So
are.
the first weekend is January 7th, the first actual Friday, and we get your all-time favorite Kevin Bacon comedy, The Air Up There,
Oh God, that's a horrible movie.
Oh,
American
man.
Cyborg, Steel Warrior.
Do you all? Can I just talk about the air up there?
Hold on, I've
If
only
you
got one
feel
more.
the need for some
Okay.
reason.
I've only got one more. Cabin Boy.
Oh
you
my
may
God,
know.
Cabin Boy!
You may know as David Letterman's best starring role.
Would you like to buy a monkey?
Guys, Can we go on record and say The Cabin Boy is not a good movie?
No, I won't go on record as saying that. I find Cabin Boy entertaining.
Because
I've seen
not.
way worse. I've seen way worse, Joe. Did I
The
send
first
you all-
30 minutes of that are passable, and the last 2 acts are dreadful.
Did
And
I
I
send
doubt
you all-
that in my mind it's
These
improved any in
pipes-
the last 10 years.
These pipes are clean is one of the best lines in cinema history.
And I now once again, Joe, and I texted you all about this. Now that I've seen Roller Gator, there is no more. There is no movies. There is only Zool. Roller Gator hurt me in ways that I will not recover from.
But I do want to go back onto The Air Up There, because that is one of those damn movies. My brothers, I have 2 brothers who all they watched were low budget action films and sports movies. So I had to watch The Air Up There on loop. And let me tell you, it never got good. It never got entertaining. Not once. So there you go. That's my critique of The Air Up There, starring Kevin Bacon.
Trying to think of a good thing to say about Cabin Boy. Maybe the art direction, maybe production design on that
It's
might be it.
beautiful. The art design's beautiful.
That might be it.
Hey, Joe. Good feedback on that one,
Good
buddy.
team.
I know that's it. I don't get. I have changed if I watched it.
By the
then
way,
I'd
do you
enjoy
know
it.
what was the number 1 at the box office? By the way, none of those.
The Air.
things-
I'm sure it's something left over from Christmas.
It has to be.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah,
There you go.
It's
Yeah.
number 1.
yeah,
All
it would be. Sorry, go ahead. Saw that in the theater. Missed Cabin Boy.
Premiering after that, January 12th, to get a good win this, because you got to get ahead. You got the crowds are going to wait for this, so you got to watch this one on Wednesday, January 12th. You get House Party 3.
I've never
Man.
seen it.
I've
Didn't
seen
play.
all of them,
Didn't
and
play.
it just goes like this. Just like this. And to our podcast listeners, I am going down. It just went down. There was never.
Chad goes down a lot.
By the way, Chad, just as an FYI, the box office total of The Air Up There was $20 million.
Wow.
House
That
Party
was a
3.
modest hit.
House Party 3 was 19. They're
Wow.
this close.
Damn, I wouldn't. House Party. No what? I didn't know what my House Party 3 made that much money.
Neither did I. I thought it kind of bombed, honestly.
There would be New Line making the. They didn't pay more than $2 or $3 million for that picture.
So what else you got that week, James?
So
Yeah.
you got the Wednesday premiere, and if you had some shekels left over after seeing your House Party 3, you had the option on Friday of
I just
seeing.
love using the word shekels. I don't know. Why.
I don't know why.
You had the option of seeing Body Snatchers, Death Wish 5: The Face of Death, Iron Will,
Ooh.
or Where the Rivers Flow North.
I don't know the last one at all.
Neither do I.
By the way,
Iron
you know
Will's
the-
a Disney movie.
and Iron Will was the only one that made money. The rest of those had box offices of 2 million or less. Iron Will did make 20 million during its entire run.
And
What was the first two again? Iron Will and what was the
Body
other two?
Snatchers.
Body Snatchers is not a good movie, but it's an interesting foray into that.
is that Donald
that-
Sutherland?
No, that's Invasion of the Body. The Body Snatchers is the one with the girl from Father of the Bride. It's the one directed by Abel Ferrara. This would have been the third of the Body Snatcher movies. There was
It made
Invasion of the Body
$500,000.
Snatchers, then the remake with Sutherland, and then this one.
It
Okay.
made $500,000.
Ferrara
It did not do well. It made
Yeah, they
about
just
half.
I
kind
thought
of.
Donald Sutherland was in this one as well. I thought he had a cameo, and it was I forgot her name.
He's in Puppet Masters, but I don't remember him.
Puppet
being-
Masters, Joe. Thank you. I got confused.
Yeah, he's in Puppet Masters.
Do you know what was the number one at the box office this weekend?
Mrs. Doubtfire.
No,
What?
a movie that premiered on Christmas, so it's not on the list anywhere else, but went on to win some awards. Philadelphia.
Oh, it would be.
Uh,
Mrs. Doubtfire made me way too happy. I'm going to go into this picture.
this
Well,
is where-
actually, this is the trivia about this. Philadelphia. So Mrs. Doubtfire ran into January, and then kids went back to school, and adults started taking back over the cinemas. And Philadelphia reached number one during its first weekend of wide release, but it had already been released. And then it remained number one, but it barely beat Mrs. Doubtfire for the next weekend, which will be the weekend I talk about next. by
Wait,
only
hold on.
$32,000.
Oh wow.
It was one of the closest they had.
Yes.
So we got to talk about two movies during that week, this week that we're on right now, that James didn't fail to mention, unfortunately. Chain of Command, starring Michael Dudikoff.
I know Michael Dudikoff, and I
When-
know what you do with the chain of command.
When Meryl Ross is thought to be a CIA agent gone bad and teaming with some,
to read the description.
I do.
Why?
Some other alphabet named agency to take over the oil-rich company of Queemer. He's found himself in the middle of a very explosive situation.
Well, yeah,
then-
I quiver when I explode.
And yes, I have to read the description because some of these are damn near hilarious. Like my next pick,
Yeah.
January 15th, Dark Tide, starring Chris Sarandon. An expedition to study poisonous snakes turns into a deadly love triangle.
Well, it would. Have you, Chris Sarandon? We were. Hold on, real quick. I got to tell a story for everybody because Chad was there and Chad remembers this. This is before we were Bonehead. This is before we were in front of the audience. This is when we were just lowly convention-going folk. We went to get our posters signed by Lisa Marie. Lisa Marie was very nice, but kept staring at another actor in the room. Chad,
Yes.
who was she staring longingly at?
That would be Chris Sarandon.
And by God, he was good looking.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm straight, but Chris Sarandon at 70 is still hot as balls.
He ages well.
Well, damn. he
so
ages
does
a
his
lot better.
sister, though.
Yeah, she does. Susan does. They both look. That's not his sister.
It's not?
No, that's his ex-wife, motherfucker.
Oh, damn.
But now I know why.
Let me
Now
make
she
it-
got. They had sex. He transferred his essence to Susan's chest.
Now,
I
in
did
all
not know
fairness,
that
in all
was-
fairness,
Yes, they were married. She's
It
never
could-
changed her name back.
it could be both. We could make this a terrible thing. Let's just go ahead and get sued. Anyway, by the way, can I reenact that plot? So they go to investigate poisonous snakes and into
No. Poisonous sea snakes, James.
That's very
Oh.
specific.
So I can't just do the I love you, Cobra, but I also love rattlesnakes. Mm.
For
That-
you
that's
all
not-
asking at home, I'm having a drink of bourbon.
Okay,
None of you are
so
asking.
No one cares about your whatever.
No one cares about the plot of Sea Snakes.
I disagree, sir.
No one.
And
Only
that would be
people that
Dark
care about
Side.
sea snakes are Chris Sarandon. And he didn't give two shits. He cashed that check and said, let me get back over here and look at this portrait of Chris Sarandon Gray.
yeah.
I'm getting literary, bitch.
All right, James, what do you got next?
January 21st, we'll see the release of only two films, The November Men and Intersection. Only one that makes any money out of those two. The November Men, the theatrical take on that is less than $2 million. However, Intersection makes $20 million.
Is Intersection on the one with Richard Gere?
That's a good question, Joe. I'll be honest.
Is that the one with Lolita Davidovich and Sharon Stone and Richard Gere, and he's trying to decide which one he wants to live with? He ends
Yes.
up dying. Spoiler
Yes.
alert.
Yes, absolutely. While driving on a remote highway, a man is torn between choosing to reunite with his estranged wife or taking
Or
up
the
with
new redhead.
his lovers.
Yeah.
So-
Spoiler alert. He picks the lovers and still dies.
We have 4 movies that James has. Are you still going, James?
No, there's only 2 that got
Okay.
theatrical releases that weekend. By the way,
But
he
I had
buried-
seen that one. I don't know what
buried the lead of Martin Landau in it, which I would hope would be one of his love interests.
It wasn't. But Chris Sarandon was.
So January
After he
16th.
slept with his sister.
We're getting sued.
Sued. So January 16th, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, was released. On January 19th,
You
Future
didn't read the
Shock.
plot for Street Fighter 2.
I don't need
call
to.
bullshit.
I don't need to.
You do.
Some
because
people-
they weren't fighting at all. It was about a chess contest on a bridge. Wasn't even on the street.
We played
Jake-
bridge. He lost.
Future Shock, starring Bill Paxton. It's a horror anthology about a psychiatrist who uses virtual reality to probe the minds of 3 unsuspecting patients.
Never seen it.
SFW,
Well,
I've heard of SFW, but I've never
Yeah, I
seen
have.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steven Dorff, Joe's favorite actor, Reese
Yep.
Witherspoon, and Jake Busey. It's about an alienated teenager who gets held hostage. I've actually seen this movie. It's not bad.
That's not what it's about. No. It's about 90 minutes long. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
But it's about just he just doesn't give a crap, and he starts ranting on TV about just not caring about anything. And then finally on January 21st, Hellbound, starring Chuck Norris. Two Chicago cops investigate a murder until they encounter an ancient demon.
Well, now I'm curious.
And when I had the pleasure of talking to Chuck Norris, Hellbound did not come up.
Well, that was your failure, sir.
Yeah.
Was it?
There's 4 people in the audience that were sitting there going, well, surely he's going to ask a Hellbound question.
I will tell, this is a true story. He did look at it. He said, who asked about Golden Globus? I did. That came from me.
Yeah. All right, James, what do you got next for the next week? I've got one. I've got 2. If you don't bring,
No. So January 26th, we got a couple Wednesday releases. We've got Blink, which makes $16 million, almost $17 million.
God, I hate that.
What was the
Madeline Stowe plays a blind woman.
Oh, I think I kind of remember that.
We also have the foreign film Tricolores Blanc, which was a French film.
Yeah.
There's 3 of them, Blanc being white.
Yeah.
Then there's a film that I know Chad is just going to be dying to talk about.
What
So
is
I'm going
it?
to go ahead and say it. We end January with a film that somehow the Academy Awards missed. Car 54. Where are you?
We have to talk about
Did it
Car
actually
54.
go theatrically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It now somehow.
The only movie to
People-
star
I think-
John C. McGinley and Buster Poindexter.
I assume there must have been snow 7 feet deep that kept people in their homes because it only made during its entire theatrical release $1,238,000.
How did
Yeah.
that movie get made? Was
Man,
that
that is
cast?
an
I
interesting question.
blame Nick at Night because I remember
None of those people are horrible on their own. In fact, David Johansen, who I was making fun of by calling Buster, he did sing under Buster Poindexter. David
Yeah.
Johansen had a bit of a movie career there for about, what do you think, about 10 years?
Yeah, off and on.
I mean, he's in Free Jack. He's in that. He's
Scrooged.
but he's great in Scrooge. He's
Oh, yeah.
actually really fantastic in a movie we've talked about on here before with Richard Dreyfuss called Let It Ride. He's really good in that. That's a movie that no one remembers.
By the way, the same week, I should say, you know what came back to be #1 in the box office? Still nothing made this year. Mrs. Doubtfire roars back in to take the weekend ending January 30th to be the #1 film during its 10th week in release. A big insult to Car 54. Where are you?
So, James disappoints me on this one
Why?
because he says we end the month with Car 54. Where are you? And that's incorrect. But first, before we talk about the movie that
What direct-to-video abortion are you going to talk about now?
you're going to regret saying that.
Ridiculous Miss Marvel.
Now,
So-
real quick, if it's Red Rock West, it did have a theatrical release that came out, and it's listed as a to be determined during January. So
Nope.
we talked about that for our Nick Cage thing.
Yep.
It did get a January theatrical release, but it was so small it wasn't listed anywhere.
I'm not going to read the description of this one. It's pretty self-explanatory. On January 28th, Whore 2 came out.
Now,
I never got to see the first one, Chad,
I'm
so I
going to
didn't
ask
know
you
the
a
plot.
serious question. Horror starred, and I'm trying to remember her name. I just watched a movie with her and Gary Busey, of all people, the other day.
I can't remember her name.
And I can't remember her name.
But Whore 2 is not the same. I'm
it's not the same
blanking.
lady.
It's not the same lady. It's a direct. It's
I think
the
it's Carrie
troll.
Russell. But the horror starred Carrie Russell.
Yeah,
Teresa Russell.
Teresa
Teresa
Russell.
Russell. Horde 2 is the Trolls 2 of the horror universe.
Is it really? Well,
All right, you got me.
So no, and then this is the one James is going to regret saying that comment. January 31st, James. Silence of the Hams.
Oh, was that released in the U.S.?
It says the U.S. release was January 31st. I think it went straight to VHS.
By the way, and this is a true story, and I know Joe always makes fun of me for enjoying Silence of the Hams.
I
But
make
they're
fun of you
actually
for many
doing-
things. Why would you just pick that one?
They're actually doing, or they did, I guess, a 25th anniversary retrospective. It was released in Italy, but you can buy it in America. You can get it on Amazon. Book that has interviews with the cast taken at the time. And I wanted just because I wanted to read what Dom DeLuise said and what John Astin said.
That'd be cool.
And so, and I guess overseas, it's getting a huge 25th anniversary Blu-ray release.
Was it
And
a
I
hit
can't-
overseas?
I think it did pretty good business in Italy because that's Ezio Greggio, who directed, wrote it, and stars as.
You should get him on the
Tony
show.
Oh man, I would love to because he did a bunch of movies for a while. People forget he worked with Mel Brooks.
He and Mel Brooks did a movie together. Yeah,
They did Screw Loose. They did a couple together actually.
I did they?
Yeah, and he has a cameo in Silence of the Hams, of course,
Yeah.
where he comes out of the hotel with the knife in his back.
But
hospital.
so does Joe Dante and John Carpenter.
I know, and that's that. I mean, who did it? Who did it? It was the Gimp. He gets up and he limps.
Lips off. Yeah. John Carpenter.
Such a great film. I don't.
Yeah,
Alright,
so
boys.
I had to put that in there, James, because I know that wouldn't be on your list.
What's next?
All right,
Let's
we
keep
have.
going.
We're
Talking
going into
pony-
February. We're going into February. So far,
Yeah.
We are only 1 month down, 11 months to go. No wonder it took us 3 years to do 2 years on this show.
February 1st, we do have one Wednesday release. It's called Naked.
Oh, I've seen Naked.
Yeah, it's a black comedy.
James, we have 2 releases on February 1st, but you go ahead about Naked.
No, I mean, you want to talk about Naked?
Naked. I can't remember the British actor's name. It's kind of a self study. It's not bad. If you get a chance to watch it, I'm really sad that I can't remember his name. I apologize. I could.
Oh,
Google
it's
it.
David.
David Thewlis.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. All right. What's
Yeah.
yours, Chad?
So on February 1st, also Samurai Cowboy was released. I got to read this in description. A Japanese man who always wanted to be a cowboy arrives in Montana and teams up with an African-American singer, a bullied Native American, a cute veterinarian, and an old cowboy to save a ranch.
So, did these people sue the piss out of Jackie Chan? I'm asking for a friend.
I don't know. For Shanghai Nights, you mean?
Or Shanghai Noon.
Shanghai Noon.
Yeah,
Shanghai
Nights is
Nights
when
is
they
the
go to
sequel.
England
Nights is a C.
and they fight Jack the Ripper in one scene for no reason.
I've actually never
love-
seen those 2 pictures.
Oh man,
I've seen
I
scenes,
enjoy
but I've
them.
never
I
seen.
enjoy them because you turn your brain off and just have fun with it, and they're fine. February 4th, that Friday though, is when we get the big release that surprised everybody and made money when it wasn't supposed to. But I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to go least money earning to most.
Oh my god!
Okay. This is
The
interesting.
lowest earning movie over its entire theatrical run that is released this weekend is Romeo is Bleeding.
Oh really?
Yes.
That's a
It-
fun movie.
That is.
It made $3,275,000 at the box office. What made more money barely than Romeo is Bleeding? Chad, get ready to explode because it's Gunman.
Oh, you sons of bitches.
Do either one of you have a copy of that?
No, why would I own Gunman? It's I love it though.
Because you love it. I know Deep Rising sucks, but I love it. I own a copy.
They
I
find
even went and bought that Criterion thing of it.
I couldn't find it. I think it's been discontinued, but it was on streaming for a long time on Amazon
I need
Prime.
to go
and
back
then-
and watch Gunman because I don't know that I actually remember it.
Man, it is an entertaining film. But
Okay,
I
so-
mean,
So
Go ahead.
Gunman was the second. So during its next run, what made more than Gunman? Coming in at $10 million was I'll Do Anything.
Oh, that's the one with Nicholas. It's directed by Albert Brooks. It was a bomb. It was a huge movie that didn't do well. Nick,
Yeah, because it got buried by the movie that everybody thought would completely suck, but directed by James L. Brooks
I said James L. Brooks. It was his
and
follow-up,
Nick Nolte, Albert Brooks, Whitney Wright.
Nick Nolte.
Is the
Yeah.
cast.
I think it was originally supposed to be a musical, and I can't remember what changed it. That one. That one's got a hit interesting history. If you ever get a chance to Google it. Sorry that I can't recant it here.
we're not.
I don't want to hear it. You read me the fucking description of Samurai Jack. Keep going.
No, he didn't.
No, I didn't.
Making over $25 million is our next film, My Father the Hero.
Oh God.
Oh, with Gerard Depardieu.
And Katherine Heigl, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm going to put her in the same category as Stephen Dorff for me.
I'm right. I wouldn't go that far, but because Stephen Dorff actually has made some interesting movies.
Yeah.
I'll wrap it up with the movie that was number one and was 1994's first film to actually rank in the number one at the box office.
Yeah, it was Katherine Heigl. Boom. I don't know how I pulled that out of my head.
But the number one film that shouldn't have beat any of these films, according to critics initially, they did not see this coming. I refer to, of course, Ace Ventura.
Yeah, Pet Detective. Yeah.
Nobody saw that coming. That's the best part about Ace Ventura. Pet Detective is Jim Carrey was in Living Color. This was it was at the end. This was literally a grab to keep his career going. And then all of a sudden this massive hit came out about a pet detective and the dark humor and the twist. I mean, everything about that movie. I'm sorry, that movie should be considered a classic just because of what it just came out of nowhere. Really? I think it should, yes.
I'm going on record. I still don't find it fun. Well, I haven't watched it in years. I actually enjoyed the sequel to it more.
See, I like the sequel, but
I don't care for. I don't care for it, which is funny because I like Jim Carrey, but I never found it funny. In fact, I was one of the ones who was like, I don't get this. I don't understand. But the same director went on to do the Nutty Professor remake in a couple of years, and honestly, as much as people love Jerry Lewis, I actually slightly prefer the Eddie Murphy version.
I prefer the Eddie Murphy version as well.
But Jerry Lewis was a genius. But keep going.
No, one other movie that James didn't mention that came out that week, and I personally like this movie.
Now, is this direct to video?
No, it got a small release in the United States. It didn't get big. It was one of those ones that was trying to get for awards.
Yeah.
Directed by John Sayles, The Secret of Rowan Inish, which is if you haven't seen the movie, it's a great movie. It's basically about a little girl living with her grandparents in a fishing village.
Yeah.
And then this there's some mysterious secrets start coming out. It's really good. It's really entertaining. And John Sayles is one of those directors. He can't go wrong. So
it's 60-40, but when it's good, it's great.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So James, what about next week? The next week.
So Ace Ventura, number one at the box office. We get to February 11th. Nobody does any Wednesday releases. They don't want to be buried under Ace Ventura. But we get, I'll start with the lowest earning, Into Thin Air, which literally bombed completely at the box office, according to the data that I have. And I'd never heard of Into Thin Air. Have you all heard of Into Thin Air?
Is it about mountain climbing?
No. There's 14 films that have that title. I had to look up which one this was.
Yeah.
Here's the plot. It was directed and written and stars Derek Frey.
No idea.
A young man is brutally beaten and left for dead by 3 hoodlums. Horribly scarred, he is nursed back to health by a mysterious hooded individual who reveals a powerful scientific discovery. He has found a way to become invisible. Unable to face his friends and family, he ingests a formula to seek revenge against those responsible, spiraling deeper into a world of deception, betrayal, and murder.
I have never heard of this picture.
No, I haven't either, but I was like, if I catch it on TV, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting, but it was a complete, utter, didn't make any money. Followed up by that was The Getaway.
Oh, the Kim Basinger, Alec Baldwin remake.
Yep. That made, in its entire theatrical release, $15,545,000.
Yeah.
That is beat out slightly by the earnings of We Can't Resurrect Macaulay Culkin. That's right, My Girl 2.
Good Lord.
What's the big winner this weekend? And it still doesn't reach number one, Blank Check.
Oh, really? Another
Blank
Disney
Check.
film?
Yeah.
Blank Check is buried by Ace Ventura. Ace Ventura maintains the top spot that weekend.
I don't think I've ever seen Blank Check.
And there actually was a classic movie that got a U.S. release on this week that, again, just kind of came and went. The Legend of Drunken Master. Came out on February 10th, starring Jackie Chan. If you haven't seen it, he basically plays a young martial artist who's skilled in the art of getting drunk and becoming an insane fighter. If you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? Check it out. It's a good movie.
I think I've only ever seen scenes in it. I don't know that I've ever seen the whole movie.
Oh, really? No, I've actually seen. So. I'm a huge fan of Jackie Chan, so I actually have seen it. It's worth a watch, and it's good. Also, that week there was a movie called The Stoned Age that came out about two stoners. I'm not going into the plot about that one because it's not worth mentioning. But it got released on February.
But 7th. Traffic Samurai Cop was.
Oh my God, I would watch Traffic Samurai Cop right now.
He's in the Old West, and he's wondering, where are the cars? Keep going, James.
Sword. Anyway.
Yes, James is making hand movements for you listeners.
February 18th, again, no midweek releases this week. We get, in order of how much money they made over the lifetime, Reality Bites, which is a cult classic in its own right.
Yeah.
Makes $20 million during its entire run. Blue Chips makes $22 million its entire run. Anybody want to sum up Blue Chips?
I actually like Blue Chips. It's another Nick Nolte movie. It's directed by William Friedkin. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, and I think it's one of those that deals with college basketball and whether they should or shouldn't get paid. I mean, that's a very quick plot, but a coach, an old coach, basically kind of sells out to the boosters, and they start giving out to be able to recruit. Did I miss anything?
No, that's about it.
Yeah,
it's directed by William Friedkin, and I actually like Blue Chip.
But it also goes into the whole thing about students who can't really, do the work.
And
going and playing basketball. And
it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's just one of those. I'm not a huge sports movie person.
So
that one I kind of like.
So I'm going to disagree with Joe because I wasn't a big fan of this. The one scene that's memorable to me about Blue Chips is the very end. He gets up there and does a press conference and just goes at it.
Yeah, and what's funny is this is the one that I find unbelievable because I've never seen it happen in actual sports.
Yeah, but Nick Nolte's delivery of those lines is powerful. And if I'm not mistaken, the reporter is the great Ed O'Neill.
I think Ed O'Neill, is a reporter. Shaquille O'Neal's also in that movie. I can't remember. Is that Shaq's first movie? I think it is.
That is Shaq's first movie, and his teammate for the Orlando Magic, Anthony Hardaway, was.
I gotta disagree with Chad on this one. It's funny. He's good in that. I think that's the unbelievable part of it. The rest of the movie's pretty believable. Could be because I went to high school with an up and coming college star that ended up in a pro league, and I actually watched a lot of that. So people did get cars.
Yeah.
The number. Oh,
go for it. Go for it.
I was going to say the other movie that came out and it was the top movie and actually knocked Ace Ventura out. And I know when I say this, Chad's going to go on a 30-minute diatribe about his love of this movie. On Deadly Ground.
I do not. No.
Oh, Billy Bob's in that one.
Oh my God, I hate that movie.
Deadly Ground knocked out Ace Ventura. And went on to make $38 million at the box office.
Steven Seagal right there in the early 90s, man. I mean, there's about a 3-year period where he didn't do anything wrong. I mean, and what I mean by that is he's a horrible actor, but his movies were successful. That was the one with Michael Caine. That's the one directed by him with Michael Caine in it, right?
Yes. And there's also the
Michael Caine's pretty bad in that.
Yeah, and there's one scene I just hate it.
That might be the Michael Caine whoring out that Carl Gottlieb talked in a previous episode.
Yes.
Oh, man, you're right. By the way, I don't remember this film because I never was a fan in any way of Mr. Seagal. Sorry, Mr. Seagal. I'm sure you don't care.
I like Under Siege.
Steven Seagal, Michael Caine, John C. McGinley, R. Lee Army, Billy Bob Thornton, Richard Hamilton.
Yep.
I mean, it's got
a huge cast.
And it's directed by Steven Seagal.
Yeah, and there's one scene in the movie that I still hate to this day. It's just there's certain scenes in movies that literally just make me cringe in terms of how terrible they are. And On Deadly Ground has one of them. I remember vividly. So Mike Starr, a great character actor. Look him up. If you look him up, you'll go, oh, it's that guy. He is a bully in a bar. He's picking on some Inuits. And Steven Seagal, of course, comes in, the big white men, to save the Inuits. And he proceeds to challenge Mike Starr to a slap fight. And of course, Steven Seagal, so fast, he ends up smacking him all over the place, bleeding his nose. And then he gives like one of these awful speeches about how Mike Starr needs to, look at people and recognize their capabilities and not be filled with hate, coming from Steven Seagal. Absolutely annoying. I hate that scene with a passion.
By the way, I just have to say this. I just looked the movie up, and under soundtracks, it says Inuit throat singing performed by, I'm going to mispronounce these names, I apologize, Quanok, Mikigok, and Timagok Pedaluse. And all I can think is, if nothing else, credit to this movie for actually including native singing.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, say what you will.
He got a little bit more of that than he did Fire Down Below.
But he even had bluegrass music in that as well.
I don't remember, Chad.
But February 16th, Legend of the Red Baron, starring everybody's favorite Mickey Rooney and Tobey Maguire.
Snoopy.
Sure. The Red Baron returns in a toy plane to kill the former World War I ace that shot him down.
I prefer Snoopy.
So there you go.
Remember that time Snoopy got shot down, but it was Christmas, and them Christmas bells saved him? Remember
that time he got shot down on the other side in the French, blah, 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 and had to get back through and something about a pumpkin?
Yeah, I tell you, that's some good
Snoopy.
times.
All
anyway,
right.
February 25th, On Deadly Ground got to number 1. Well, February
25th?
It's the next weekend. I did February 18th.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I think I know what came out February 25th. I think I saw it opening weekend.
I'm curious because there's only 2 on the list, unless you saw something.
Does one have vampires in it?
You get 8 seconds.
No, that one had a lot of vampires in it.
Tons of them, especially them bucking Broncos. Sugar Hill.
Oh, okay. I got the wrong year. Go ahead.
Also, February 21st, James.
I've actually seen 8 seconds.
The Dark Knight of this franchise, Ski School 2, came out.
Have you actually seen Ski School 2?
I have not seen Ski School 1.
Oh,
I would love to have Cameron, what's his name, on the show, but he has yet to return my calls.
So, by the way, I know you're thinking 8 seconds. By the way, Sugar Hill made $18 million. 8 seconds made $21 million during its run.
Mm-hmm.
None of those films hit number 1. Ace Ventura came roaring back and retook that weekend and became the number 1 film. Matter of fact, Ace Ventura that weekend came in making $6 million that weekend in its 4th weekend release.
You know what I do with $6 million?
Spend it.
Yeah.
Some of it. Put some of it back.
Yeah.
Rainy day fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we get past 8. So we get into March. We're into March now. March, we do have one Wednesday release. And according to my data, it did not make enough to even chart how much it brought in. The Western Silent Tongue.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
All right, we'll get to March 4th then. Here's the films that came out March 4th. I will again start with the lowest earner and move up.
And James, I have the lowest earner. You don't.
Oh, well, okay.
Cut to Chad with some sort of Billy Goat out back. I don't know why. It's like he's running the Kentucky Derby, folks.
Go ahead,
5
James.
movies that are released on March 4th.
6.
The one that earns the least is China Moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
China Moon, and then hold on, it's close. Sirens.
Okay, that's with Elle McPherson.
Yeah, directed by John Dugan.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Chase.
Oh, with Charlie Sheen
and Christy Swanson.
Yeah, that's the whip. That movie should be called Whip Pan.
You know, and Henry Rollins is really good in that movie.
You gonna use the word really good? I barely remember it, but it's Whip Pan. It's just cutting
it's
back
a lot of it's just whip pan.
That is all it is. That's all it is.
It makes you nauseous. Yeah.
And the thing I remember most about that movie is that's the one he got in trouble with talking about later in Playboy. If anybody remembers about it, he wished he'd jammed Christy Swanson, and by jammed he meant sex.
There was.
Oh, did
man.
he? I didn't pick up on that, Joe. Thank you for clarifying.
I just wanted our listeners who probably are sitting there holding their Gideon Bibles, are not familiar with fornication.
no,
to
actually,
know
in my mind, I picture an old woman knitting, going, "Oh, I bet that young Mr. Sheen did make some high quality raspberry jam."
it was tasty on some pumpernickel.
Yeah, if I remember that movie right, and I probably don't, because that movie is a piece of crap. But there was that scene where they literally have sex, and she's on top of him while he's driving at high speeds. Yeah. Oh God,
I had a friend do that, but not at high speeds.
Yeah,
it's just
That's
unrealistic.
Sean got away with it, so I mean it can happen. But I don't think he's doing 80 miles an hour.
No,
exactly.
No. The next film making $9 million in its entire run, Angie.
Oh, with Gina Davis. Actually, that has a young Tony Soprano in it as her person who knocked her up, right?
I'm sure. I've never seen Angie. I didn't look it up because I was like, well, they'll know what it is. I don't know.
That's what it is. She doesn't want to marry the guy that she's dating who got her pregnant. And she ends up having an affair with the Crying Game. I can't think of the guy's name. The lead actor in the Crying Game. The great Irish actor. I can't think of his name. I'm so sorry. But she has sex. She ends up having an affair with the Crying Game.
Thank you for that, Joe.
He's always in Neil Jordan movies, which is also the director of The Crying Game. Keep going.
And the number one movie this weekend, or the one that goes on to make the most money that came out this weekend, is Greedy.
Man, I love Greedy. I love Greedy.
It's an okay movie. Yeah, that's the one where it does have that great ending where he gets up and walks away.
Yeah, I love that movie. Everything about it. It's if you haven't seen Greedy, Joe's going to shit on it or tell me that I don't have blah blah blah. But I
just said it was okay.
Yeah, it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, one of the best scenes ever is in the movie is when Michael J. Fox and Phil Hartman get into a fight, like a fist fight.
I don't remember it.
Oh, it's great. But but yeah, the ending.
I just remember Kirk Douglas.
The ending's a great. It is not only is it a great ensemble cast of Ed Begley Jr., Phil Hartman, Michael J. Fox, Kirk Douglas. The list goes on. Nancy Travis, I believe, is in that.
Probably.
I could be wrong, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. Greedy's great.
It does not, however, manage to take number one because Ace Ventura in its final swing still brings in $5 million this weekend.
So it was number one a week, then it got knocked out, and then it came back for 2 weeks at number one.
Ace Ventura was number one for 2 weeks. The weekends ending in February 6th and February 13th. Then On Deadly Ground came in, and Steven Seagal smacked Jim Carrey, but then Jim Carrey roared back for 2 more weeks. So
just because everybody realized On Deadly Ground was a piece of shit and said, "Why'd we waste our money on this? Let's go watch Jim Carrey."
The final week, the weekend ending March 6th, 5,095,000. Ace Ventura still holds on as number one that weekend.
So James was wrong about the lowest earning, making $49,000 on March 4th. Apex.
I have a really obscure joke, but keep going.
It is a straight ripoff of Terminator. Post-apocalyptic war-torn 2073. A scientist from another timeline must help a resistance group stop an army of indestructible Apex Terminators, and risk actually erasing himself.
Is there anybody famous in it?
No, Richard Keats, who played
Dick Keats.
Starring no one and nothing.
Starring Dick Keats. Dick Keats.
I had to mention Apex. So, James, what do you got for the next week? Because I've got a few.
Next week, we do get 2 Wednesday releases, and they're pretty big ones.
Yes.
One was not a big hit. The other one was. Both of them are pretty good movies. 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And The Ref.
Yeah.
I love The Ref.
And if you've never seen The Ref, go watch The Ref.
It should have
never been released in the middle of March.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, that is a little odd. I did not know that that was released in the middle of March. If for people don't know, that's Dennis Leary. That's he who we shall not name his name, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah. And I'm blanking on the female actress's name, who's
I don't
very talented in her own right.
I don't remember her name either.
But man, it's good.
Judy Davis.
Yes, thank you.
Judy Davis,
Don't beat me to
I
it.
have a hard time though now that I've learned more and more in the last couple of years about Dennis Leary.
Is this going to be your Bill Burr rant?
No, I want to leave it alone. But yeah, Bill, there is some funny stuff.
You talking about Bill Hicks?
It's Bill Hicks. He did steal some stuff from Bill Hicks, but Bill Hicks wasn't the only one.
Yeah. So what else you got that week, James?
Oh, that's the Wednesday releases. Now the Friday releases, and once again, Chad's going to go crazy, but I'll start with the lowest earning that came out on Friday, the Hudsucker Proxy.
Yeah.
But
Nobody still talks about it.
I don't know why.
No one still talks about it. It's hard. It's hard. It's a hard movie. It's beautiful. It's very well made, but is
it one of the more odder of the Coen brother films, you think?
Honestly, I think it kind of is. I mean, I don't know how they got Paul Newman in the first place. I'm always kind of curious how they got Paul Newman.
Okay, so honest opinion.
You know, Sam Raimi directed Second Unit on that movie, too.
Yeah. In terms of weird Coen brother films, which one do you think's weirder? Hudsucker Proxy or Barton Fink?
Hudsucker. Because Barton Fink has got a lot more humor in it. At least a lot more. It's kind of whereas it's funny, but it's him holding a circle, and I don't think people get it. You know, for the kids.
Yeah, for the kids.
But that's not a ha 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 ha. Whereas I think there are some of those in Barton Fink.
You're right. I agree with you.
Barton Fink has those two magnanimous. I can never say the word. It's just two really great performances from John Candy and John Turturro.
Yeah, but you know those are,
and they just kind of jump off the screen. John Candy has that great. It's a great role. So,
yeah, and in terms of just the storytelling being off, you know, just not straight storytelling, those are their two big ones, I think. And but I agree with you that Hudsucker Proxy is by far probably the weirdest Coen Brothers film they've ever made.
And it was one of their most expensive. Actually, that was produced by Joel Silver.
Yep.
By the way,
it's beautiful too.
Yep.
You said John Candy. You said John Candy for Barton Fink. Did you?
I'm sorry. I meant to say, yeah. John Turturro.
I didn't even catch it. I didn't even catch it. John Goodman.
John Goodman.
I was going to jump in, and I was like, wait a second.
That'd have been an interesting Barton Fink. I got to be honest with you. I would have watched it.
He went down the whole. He went down the whole McHale's Navy casting.
Yeah, so John Turturro and John Goodman. I apologize.
Oh, yeah, Barton Fink. So Hudsucker Proxy, by the way, during its entire theatrical release, makes $14 million.
I think Sam's one of the writers on that too.
$14,938,000.
That made $14 million.
Hudsucker, yes. During its entire run.
I did not know it made that much money.
I'm kind of shocked too.
I think that movie cost like $30-40 million too.
And I thought it was in limited release.
I never even thought it went wide.
And you're right. By the way, Sam Raimi is credited as an author on it. The next film though that made more money than Hudsucker Proxy, which probably puts your Hudsucker Proxy not doing well in perspective, one of the best performances by the artist of our time, Paul Hogan's Lightning Jack.
Hell yes, that movie is not good.
Made $16,821,000. I saw it at the Old Trail Theater, which no longer exists, and now I believe is apartments.
Yeah, I was driving by there when we were coming back through because they've locked off part of the street so people can eat outside. So you can't make a left there. I don't know if you've seen that, James. You can't. I appreciate what they were doing, but it kind of bumfuzzled me for a second when I wanted to turn and there were people there eating food at tables in the street. But back to Lightning Jack. That has Cuba, right? Cuba Gooding?
Yeah, it's Cuba. Yeah, he plays a mute.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen all of it.
I did. I saw it in theaters. It was when I was younger. We got to see basically one movie a year in theaters, and that year
that was the one you picked, huh?
Well, no, my parents would be like, "I can't be too bad."
You rolled some dice and said, "I got a good feeling."
It's got Paul Hogan in it. It can't be that bad. So that's what I saw. So y'all ready for the number one movie that also took over number one from
please.
from Ace
Yeah,
Ventura?
I can't
Please.
wait.
It once again, how can you beat Paul Hogan? Well, you're going to need somebody epic, and that epic person is going to be Nicolas Cage because he's guarding Tess.
Oh, so
We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
It has one of the strangest third acts for a comedy.
well, and
Yeah.
you know that's so I got to tell this week. I've been introducing my wife to some new movies from that era that she never seen. I showed her Guarding Tess, and I'm like, I'm going to warn you, this movie has a weird dark turn that you don't see coming.
It is. It's a strange third
Yeah,
act.
it is a strange third, and then all of a sudden, and she even said, she was just, why did they go this way? Because it's about a man protecting an old woman.
Yep.
And you think it's okay, and then all of a sudden it goes insanely dark. So yeah, it's just, I would like to have been seen the writers of that movie, and just where did that come from?
I don't know.
But that was number one.
Yep, went to number one. That's the number one for 1 week. And that particular weekend, I can tell you how much it made because there wasn't a lot of competition. Guarding Tess premiered with $7 million at the box office,
Oh,
Wow.
that's a lot of money if you had it all here in fives.
and it
No,
went
it's-
on to make $27 million total during its entire theatrical. So it made quite a bit of that first week. Useless trivia, by the way, about Guarding Tess. George Clooney actually was going to be in the film. He recorded and he auditioned for and recorded one line for the film. It got cut.
Nice.
He was on ER at that time.
It's in trivia about the film. It talks about George Clooney could have appeared in the film, but they cut the line. And that would have made my 6 degrees of separation not easier at all. I can do that with anything, so it doesn't matter.
You know what movie failed to reach the top box office that week?
It didn't make my list, so what is it, Chad?
One Man Army, starring kickboxing champ Jerry Trimble.
No idea. I don't.
I've never seen it.
Everything you just said is just oblivion to me. I have no clue. There wasn't any of those words. Boxing with kicks, Jerry Siegel. I don't know.
All right.
James.
You ready to
this
hit the next week?
James, this next week, man, I'm going to warn you again. It's not going to be on your list, and you're going to be disappointed that it
That's
wasn't.
all right. I'll get through my list pretty quickly because we're picking up steam. Some of these movies are starting to make money. We're not seeing $3 or $4 million box office anymore. We're up to $16 million during its theatrical
Oh
run.
Lord, come on, James,
first-
blow our minds.
The first film going to make some cash this week is going to be a little gem called Monkey Trouble.
Oh, God. That's another Disney movie, right?
That's actually produced by Ridley Scott, and a lot of people liked that movie when it came out. It was really It was
good
really
Lord.
well received by critics. I don't ever remember seeing it actually.
I don't remember seeing it either.
Well, it did not make number one, obviously, because it has to compete against The
No idea.
Paper.
That's a good one.
That is a good movie.
Yeah,
The Paper, by the way, did go on to make $46 million theatrical, which was pretty good based on its budget. Evidently.
And that is another a case of a perfect ensemble cast.
that is a perfect time. That's Randy Quaid pre-bat shit.
Yeah.
Directed
Playing a
by
batshit
Little
crazy
Opie
person, by
Cunningham.
the way.
Little
Yeah.
Opie Cunningham.
But it's Randy Quaid pre-batshit playing a batshit person.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Spalding Gray, you've got Jason Alexander, you got Glenn Close, you got Robert Duvall, you got Michael Keaton, you got.
I
Marissa
love the
Tomei.
fact you led with Spalding fucking Gray.
Yeah. But why wouldn't you?
It's not like I started.
No,
It's not like I started with Lynn
he's in
Thigpen.
2 scenes. Doesn't he play the guy who was trying to hire him and lure Michael Keaton away from the local paper?
I think you're right. I think you're
that's
right.
he's in 2 scenes in that. And Spalding Gray later went on to commit suicide. There you go.
It's not like I led with Lynn Thigpen though, who is great in it.
So
Lynn.
that's go ahead.
So that's it beat Monkey Trouble, but it can't beat the final film on the list, which did premiere at number 1, and of course is the only film that went to 33 1/3. Naked Gun 33 1/3. The Final Insult comes in at number 1 in the box office this weekend, bringing in during this weekend $13 million and will go on to make $51 million.
Now, I meant to look up the timeline on this because if I'm not mistaken, Naked Gun 33 and a third came out. It was number one. And then the following week, he gets arrested. O.J. Simpson, I'm referring to. If I'm not mistaken.
It'd be close. I don't know. I was actually just going to talk about the movie itself. It was big news when Leslie Nielsen came out and said he thought he was guilty.
Yeah.
There's some
Why do you
great
think
scenes
that,
in
Leslie?
that movie.
Well,
I'm a huge Zaz fan. I love David Zucker, Jerry Zucker, Jim Abrams. Just so anybody knows, that's where a lot of those come from. I love The Naked Gun. I love Police Squad. That actually, however, that is one of those that feels like that's the third movie.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know that the second one feels like it's the second one as much as the third one feels like it's the third.
The third one really feels
The third act by the time they get to the Oscars is a little.
Yeah, that's the Oscars part just.
It kind of
Honestly,
slows down.
It killed it for me because I don't think anything in the Oscars part's funny other than him being mistaken for Phil Donahue.
Continuously, which is kind of funny.
That's the best part about. But yeah, no,
it's not a bad movie. It just it's one of those that actually feels like the third.
Yeah, to just bounce off that. Yeah, it's not a bad film, but it does feel like a lot of the times they're struggling to find a joke.
That's also the one that's not directed by David Zucker.
Right.
They brought in what's his face and went on to direct like The Longest Yard and a couple others. The remake.
Yeah.
All right,
James.
So that's that weekend. That's the big ones. What did I miss, Chad? What gems did you unearth that don't make the national listings?
James, I would love to hear you talk about your love of the movie that came out on March 17th, Time Chasers.
Oh man, Time Chasers. See, Chad, if you're going to build a time machine, build it in a terrible, terrible single-engine prop plane, and then make sure that you work for a company called Evil Co. It's not really, but that's what they call it on Mystery Science Theater 2000 because it's blatantly an evil corporation. There's no way you're going to think this corporation's not evil.
I can't tell if you're actually dissing this movie or talking about the amazingness of it.
It is no. I give them credit because oddly enough, Riff Tracks re-riffed it, and they actually invited the cast to come back. Yeah. And the cast, I give them credit because they made their vision. They managed to pull it off. They got a release for this. Somebody picked this up, and it made a little bit of money. It made back what it cost to make, which is all they really thought it would do. So as far as a cool,
and if you're not familiar with the film business, when you break even, you've done well.
But it is, I mean, it obviously is a very, very low budget film about a guy that travels through time. And I'll just borrow the line from Mystery Science Theater 2000. They jump to the future, and basically everybody's just on cell phones and dressed in bright neon colors. And it's obviously filmed in a mall food court. Like it is. But that being said, I give them credit. I will not, it's not a good movie. But they managed to pull something off that I've never been able to pull off and get somebody to say, yeah, we'll buy that off of you and release it. So there you go.
Your pants.
I believe the budget for that movie might have been $150,000 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, something like that. And I mean, and most of that probably went to insurance on that plane because they do fly that flipping plane through time.
All right, next weekend.
Is that the only one, Chad?
That's the only one.
It probably floored all the competition, and they went, no, let's avoid that Time Chaser weekend. There is a Wednesday release that is historically significant that I need to mention, just because of who all it stars, and that's Above the Rim.
Yeah.
It is released on Wednesday, and Above the Rim, for those that don't know, stars the late Tupac Shakur as a drug dealer, and it's about a high school basketball star that gets mixed up with him.
Actually, I've never seen it. Have you all?
I saw it a long time. I do not remember anything about it.
It is directed and written or co-written by Jeff Pollock. So I just wanted to make sure I brought it up. Jeff Pollock passed away in 2013 as well. He was also known as the writer for this kid that got mixed up and turned upside down, had to move to Bel Air. And he also was part of the crew that worked on the film Monster. So I just wanted to give the director a little bit of credit, but he's passed away now. It actually went on to make $16 million. It did premiere on a Wednesday. The reason it premiered on Wednesday was they didn't want to have to compete with what came out on Friday, which came out without competition.
Right.
And it's the second film in an ongoing universe that allegedly we're going to see a fourth film return to because the universe is populated by these powerful figures. I refer to, of course, D2, the Mighty Ducks.
I'm imagining that was a hit.
It made $45 million. Now, on the
Yeah.
weekend of its release, it was number one. It made $10 million its opening weekend.
Chad sent me a message forever. Keep going, James.
That's it. That's the only movie that came out that weekend, and it did go to
Alright.
number one.
I do want to mention that 2 movies came out that week. So yeah, by the way, that was another one of those movies that I was forced to watch and never enjoyed one single moment of Mighty Ducks.
Did you
2.
prefer it when they made the animated series where they were actual ducks? that
Yes,
skated.
I do. In matter of fact, no, actually, to be completely honest, I do enjoy the first Mighty Ducks movie with Emilio Estevez. I think I find it enjoyable, but every sequel.
It's directed by
Yes.
Stephen Brill, right? Stephen Brill did that. He did Teenage Mutant Ninja. He was a talented director.
Yeah, who didn't get
I think he actually directed that Merlin that I really liked, the 2-parter.
with Sam Neill, right?
Sam Neill. Yeah, he's a talented guy.
Yeah, who
he
doesn't
made
get the
some.
credit.
He made some shit out of Shinola, and I would rather we went to June. Is your answer to that?
Yeah. Okay. We can do that.
And split it up middle ways.
There are 2 movies that got released. One I briefly want to mention. I'm not going to go into the plot of it, but Dinosaur Island came out March 23rd, directed by Fred Olin Ray and a former guest of our show, Jim Wynorski.
Yep.
And
That had
March,
breasts in it.
yes, and March
Did you
24th.
know that from seeing it, or just by who was involved, Joe?
Who was involved? But I've seen some stills of the movie. Googling some talent on that picture. Keep going.
Yeah, and March 24th, guys. I don't know if you'll remember this one, but this movie, I don't remember it being good, but it did spark a lot of controversy in 1994. The movie Priest.
He's
Not to be confused with the much more recent film named
I
Priest.
can't
that involved
remember if it was
vampires.
because he was having sex or it was because he was a homosexual.
The latter.
Okay.
It's a homosexual Catholic priest finds out during confessional that a young girl is being sexually abused by her father and has to decide how to deal with both that secret and his own.
Okay.
That movie,
I don't remember it actually. I may have seen it, but I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, it obviously didn't get a lot of play because of how controversial it was, but it came out in 1994, and for a brief moment there, a lot of people were very upset.
Yeah, it's a big to do.
It was, yeah. So that needed to be mentioned because it doesn't show up on any box office list. So I wanted to bring that one up. James, let's go to the next week, and I've got a lot on this week.
Oh, well, March 30th does have a little bit of a crowded box office. There's 4 that they recorded nationally, so I don't know what else you've got. But the one that had the lowest recorded earnings over its lifetime box office, it probably deserves a little bit of a mention. It's called Kronos.
Another Kronos movie?
Yep, Kronos, 1994 there.
Okay.
Is this the Guillermo del Toro Kronos?
I don't think that came out in 94. I thought that came out in 91, 92.
It actually came out in 93, but it got released in America in 94.
So this is the Guillermo del Toro Kronos?
It is
Okay.
the-
I thought it
the-
actually came out earlier than that. I remember
yeah.
seeing it as a kid on video. I didn't see it. in
Well,
the
it
theater.
may be that they gave it a limited theatrical release because it only lists as making $597,000 during its entire run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It probably
it
didn't
came
cost a
and
hell of
went.
a lot more than that, actually.
But it's a great movie. People,
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it.
it's an interesting picture. It's considering he's a first time filmmaker, it's really good.
The second highest grossing, following Kronos, is of course the epic film Jimmy Hollywood.
I don't know that I've actually ever made it through it.
I have. I don't remember anything about it. Not one of Barry Levinson's finer films. I can
It's
tell
Joe
you that much.
Pesci, right?
Yes, Joe
Joe
Pesci,
Pesci,
and
Christian
Slater.
Slater, Victoria Abril, etc., etc.
I didn't realize that was directed by Barry Levinson.
Yep.
Yep, written and directed by, but
Hmm.
yes. So there's not much to say, I guess, about Johnny Hollywood. But the next one is a film that was released by Fox Animation, and my kids own because my mom got it for them. Thumbelina,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
which
Is that
has
directed by Don or I forgot.
It's not
his
directed
name.
by Don Bluth.
It's not? Okay.
Maybe it
it's-
is. I don't know.
it's got a pretty interesting voice cast. I mean, it's got some decent voice casting to it. Let's see. It is, Joe, to answer your question, it's directed by Don Bluth and Gary Goldman.
Oh, I stand corrected. I am sorry.
Um,
I don't think I've ever seen it. Don Bluth also gave us Rockadoodles or Rackadoodle or whatever it's called.
I took my sister to see Rockadoodle in the theater. Oddly enough, do you know the Disney connection of why some people say, and now that Fox is owned by Disney, some people say Thumbelina should be retroactively made a Disney film?
I don't. It was originally started out as a Tinkerbell movie.
It's because it's based on the voice talent. Jodie Benson voices Thumbelina. Anybody know who Jodie Benson is?
No.
She's Ariel.
Oh.
She did.
I should have known that. I just watched that documentary.
She did this.
About the guy that did the music the other day on Disney Plus.
But it's got a great cast. I mean, you've got June Foray, who's Rocky. You've got Kenneth Mars. You've got
Kenny Mars.
You've got Charo. You've got Gilbert Godfrey. You've got. I mean, the voice talent in that movie is not bad. It doesn't live up to Disney, and I'm not knocking Don Bluth. I love a lot of Don Bluth films. This doesn't feel like it's necessarily one of his best, but it is pretty well liked in some areas. It made $11 million at the box office, but it could not stand up to the film that would knock it out and become the number one for the weekend.
There's no way. Go ahead.
And I refer, of course, to the epic film Major League 2.
Oh.
Major League 2.
The one out. that almost the one he wouldn't come back for, right? Oh my God! Did you ever just forget an actor's name? Who's Blade?
Tom Berenger.
Who's Blade?
Wesley
Snipes.
Wesley Snipes wouldn't do the sequel.
Yeah.
I remember Charlie Sheen talking shit about him in an interview. He's going to miss a huge success. Come to think about it, kind of sound like Trump. Anyway, go ahead.
It did go on to make $30 million.
Yeah.
It did premiere at number one at the box office, and its opening weekend, it did make $7 million. So, not a huge number, but it did okay. But that's it. That's all that came out that weekend. Major League was the premiere film that weekend.
Okay, so I'm going to hold off on what I thought was was supposed to be on that list because I got some conflicting information. So I want to see if it comes up. Let's go down this list, and there's some interesting ones on this one. March 29th, Class of 1992, The Substitute, starring Sasha Mitchell. March 30th, Ring of Steel, starring Joe Don Baker.
Never seen it.
It is a movie about an underground fencing competition.
With Joe Don?
Yeah.
Now, I can believe him as a sheriff. I can believe him as a private detective. But when you're like, no, he's a fencing champion, you're going to lose me.
We're doing this chess movie. We've got Joe Don Baker.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Checkers movie, Joe Don.
Yeah.
While I'm going down this list, I'll really check out Ring of Steel. It is ridiculously stupid. The Gods Must Be Funny in China. That did not get released in the United States, but I just wanted to mention it.
Okay.
Because what people don't realize is The Gods Must Be Crazy. It was very popular overseas.
And they made a sequel.
It made a bunch of sequels.
It made a bunch of sequels, just not all of them.
Yeah, I only know the Gods Must Be Crazy.
Isn't there one that involves vampires, Chad? I'm not making this up, right?
I think you're right.
One where he fights vampires.
This one is part 5.
Ooh. I need to go. Are they good?
I don't know.
Did I mention he fights vampires, Joe?
There's another. No, this isn't connected, but have you guys ever seen The Man from Snowy River? So those were huge, and that was had spawned a sequel. And I never bothered to watch it till a year or two ago, and I still couldn't wrap my mind other than Kirk Douglas is in it. Why is this so popular? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't. But no, The Gods Must Be Crazy is on one of our streaming services, so I am going to check it out at some point because I don't remember anything about it other than watching it as a kid and being very confused. Anyway, but also I do want to mention Muriel's Wedding got released on March 31st in limited release. If you haven't seen Muriel's Wedding, it's worth a check out. Now, this one did not get a U.S. release, guys, but I found it and we have to talk about it. March 29th in France. I don't have the French version, but translated into English, The Tit and the Moon. Please let me read the description.
I've got a needle and a spoon.
It's weirder than what you think. A child cannot stand the idea of having a new brother and dreams about drinking milk from the breast of his mother again. The child asks the moon to bring him a teat, only for him.
That's just, I mean, that's greedy.
I did that once, and everybody said, "Listen, first of all, this is called work. You're at the workplace. Second of all, what the fuck?
Yeah,
You just made me say fuck at the workplace, Joe.
Guys, I got.
And then Joe
Seriously.
screamed out MOON. That spells.
That spells your teeth."
After you look up Ring of Steel, look up images of the tit and the moon.
Okay.
It's disturbing. There's literally a little kid who the milk is shooting out the breast, and he's catching it midair. Check it out.
I see, in my mind, I want it to be like the scene from UHF where you get to drink from the fire hose. It's time to drink from the fire hose. And then it knocks the kid into the
So, James, what do you got for the next week, man?
Okay, so we are now into April. And April 1st, it's the first weekend in April where we get some pretty major releases. So we get The House of the Spirits. Anybody remember The House of the Spirits?
No, sir, I do not remember The House of the Spirits.
It's only 2 hours
No.
and 20 minutes long.
Oh,
It's
God.
directed by Billy August, and it stars Jeremy Irons, Meryl Streep, and Maria Conchita Alonso.
Yeah.
Here's the plot. I don't know how y'all forgot this one. A rancher, his clairvoyant wife, and their family face turbulent years in South Africa, or South America. I'm sorry. That's what it's about.
Huh.
One would.
And so, by the way, that film is the one that I start with the ones that are in the least. That made during its entire theatrical run, even with Jeremy Irons and Meryl Streep, only made $6 million. It was beat this weekend by a film that during its entire theatrical run would make $7,347,000. And it's Joe's favorite film that got released in April of 1994, starring Martin Short, Clifford.
Can I talk
Name-
about?
You know, I've talked shit about the movie, but I've never actually seen it.
I watched it. I rented it when it came out on video, which probably was December of 1994. And I just remember my dad watching it, going, "Kill him, just flipping kill the kid. You'll be out of prison before he would have turned 18."
So,
It's probably not as bad as people says it is. Is that what you're going to say, Chad?
no. So background story. Clifford's one of those movies from the 1990s that I was dying to see. I saw the trailer. I'm a big Martin Short fan. I'm not joking. Charles Grodin fan. I'm like, I got to go to the theater and see this movie. I was so excited. And I missed
You're the only kid who said, "God, Charles Grodin
Grodin.
got the #1 movie this weekend."
I love Beethoven and Midnight Run, man. You can't go wrong with Charles Grodin. But
Midnight Run.
it's great. But I was dying, and I missed it at the theater. And then it finally came out on VHS. I was there that day that it got released on VHS. I sit down in front of the TV and watched it, and I just hated myself.
That had nothing to do with Clifford. Don't you hang that on that adorable
Yeah, it
little
was
child.
It was my teenage years. I was pretty miserable, and I went to movies to escape how miserable I was. And Clifford just made me realize how miserable I was.
Well, is it really that bad?
Man, I never laughed. It wasn't funny. And then the whole thing is it's building up to like this. If I'm remembering correctly, it's building up to the release. They're opening a theme park, Disney-esque theme park. And
For
he goes on,
dinosaurs. He's obsessed with dinosaurs. It's a dino world. It's a
dino world. And he goes on this roller coaster. And it is the lowest budgeted piece of crap roller coaster that you've ever seen
He
in a
talks
movie.
about it in his, Martin Short talks about it in his autobiography a little.
It's directed by Paul Flattery.
Who is Second City fame for our folks out there.
He's the brother Joe.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But
Yeah.
but he's a writer for Second City, I think.
Yes, I believe he was. Yeah.
Do you know how problematic this film was to get released, by the way? Do you know any of this background on this?
No, I don't.
It was filmed in 1990. And Orion wanted to make it. And Orion went into bankruptcy. And it took them 4 years to get straightened enough out to where they could get the rights to release it back.
Yeah.
The funny part about this was when they were planning it, the story goes that they actually met with the one of the directors of photography, And he said, okay, so who's in the film? The script looks interesting. Who's in the film? And he goes, well, we're going to have the kid played by Martin Short. And the director of photography says, you're messing with me. Went all the way to the head of Orion and said, you cannot be serious about making Martin Short the kid in this film. And the director, Paul Flattery, and Orion, the head of Orion Pictures, just screamed back at him, oh, yes, we are. The director of photography went, I'm getting paid. And but when it finally got released, when they got the rights to it, they had Martin Short come back in. And so spoiler if you've not seen it, the clips of him as an older Reformed priest that are at the beginning, at the end, those were what were filmed in 1993 to bookend it. They had him come back in to refilm those, but the rest of the film was actually shot in 1990.
I didn't know that.
It took 4 years for release. So just useless trivia about how troubled Clifford was. But Clifford was, out of the movies released that weekend, the big one. Just FYI, though, Clifford did not get to be the number one movie because knocking back out Major League 2, D2, the Mighty Ducks, came back in and retook the number one spot, making $5,513,000 that week.
So there was a few movies that were released that week. There's one that's significant that's not on James's list. So Dragon Ball Z Broly Second Coming was released in the U.S. finally. Threesome. It's a popular independent film that a lot of people saw. When we were
it's got
younger.
one of the Baldwins in it.
Yes,
I've
Stephen
seen
Baldwin.
Threesome.
Yeah.
I bet you have.
Faust.
I've seen it. I've never been able to participate.
I'm sorry, Faust came out April 7th.
Yeah.
And then April 8th, gentlemen, a classic in cinema, Leprechaun 2 was released.
Actually, that's on April 8th. That's on my next list because I'm at April 1st.
Oh, my bad. Continue.
Chad slipped ahead. He had to get to his threesome.
Okay, so April 8th, as Chad said, but that's actually Leprechaun 2 was not the worst movie that came out that weekend as far as
What was the
making
worst
money.
movie?
The one that earned the least amount was the comedy Holy Matrimony. Anybody know anything about Holy Matrimony?
I don't even remember it.
Vaguely.
Holy Matrimony stars Patricia Arquette and nobody else. No, it's a comedy crime. It's Patricia Arquette, but it's directed by one of the best directors of our age. I don't care what you people say. Leonard Nimoy directed it. And
I've never seen it. What happened?
It stars a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. A young Hutterite boy must marry his late brother's wife who comes from outside the community. So basically, this young boy who is of a religious sect, they believe that if your brother dies, you have to marry his wife. Well, he is basically 12, and he has to marry Patricia Arquette. That's the movie.
I didn't know that killed his career. I thought Funny About Love killed his directing career.
I think maybe they gave him one last chance.
But this was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's first starring role in a theatrically released film. As you can guess, it did not do well.
Armin Mueller-Stahl.
What now?
Have you even seen it, James?
I've seen bits of it because for a while it was a cheap movie to get because it failed so badly. It only made $713,000 at the box office. But I've seen clips of bits of it, but it never appealed to me. I was like, it's not funny. I mean, it's a comedy, but it's not funny enough. It is followed by the second highest grossing film of the weekend is Leprechaun 2, which would go on to make over its entire run $2,217,000 and probably still turn a profit. But the number one movie is Threesome that weekend, which does go on to make $14 million. And that's the big three for that weekend. And then the next week we do have – do you have anything else, Chad?
Nope. I'm sorry. I messed this up.
No, that's fine. You ruined everything. But we do get one Wednesday release that next week. And the Wednesday release goes on to make $7,881,000. And that is, of course, the epic film Serial Mom. Anybody want to talk about Serial Mom?
Well, Serial Mom.
I love Serial Mom.
That actually, it's not my favorite movie of his, but it may very well be his best. And he's
your favorite Cecil B. Demented?
Well, I like Cecil B. Demented quite a bit, even though it has Stephen Dorff, simply because it's just to me, I mean, a lot of people can use The Sweet Smell of Success and some other films that deal with the entertainment industry that are just wonderful. And by the way, it's no Sweet Smell of Success, but I think Cecil B. Demented, if you're into movies, is hilarious.
Yes.
If you're not into movies and don't know the nomenclature, it's not as funny. What do you all think?
Right. Agree. But yeah, I love Serial Mom, especially the part with the fire poker. I will admit that I watched it recently, like within the last year. You can definitely tell that he was on a budget.
Yeah, he actually said at the time though when it came out that it was his best movie.
It is.
That's one of those that.
Well, it's not his best movie. Let me.
What is that? Damn it! That came out from that company that went under, Savoy. I think that's one of those victims of Savoy. There's that was just like, FYI, we were talking about Orion. Orion's fascinating. George Romero got hung up with Orion for years and was unable to make a couple of movies simply because of their budget woes and being under contract. It's interesting. Sorry.
So that was a Wednesday release. Here's the one movies that came out that Friday.
What date are we on for that Friday?
We are on April 15th.
Okay, got it.
All right. April 15th, the movie that made the least this weekend and would go on to make only $2 million theatrical during its entire run is probably the best Stephen Dorff film related to the Beatles.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Backbeat. Backbeat stars Stephen Dorff, Ian Hart, Gary Blakewell, and of course Chris O'Neill as George Harrison. It's about the Beatles in Germany. Anybody want to say anything else about Backbeat?
Nope.
No.
All right. Backbeat's the bottom. The next highest grossing movie, get ready for Chad to explode, Surviving the Game.
Yep.
I like Surviving.
I like Surviving the Game.
I do too. It's fun. My favorite part is him on the treadmill smoking.
By the way, that's another movie that has that's a New Line Cinema picture with an fantastic ensemble.
Yeah, James, do you want me to go through the ensemble?
Go ahead, Chad.
Rutger Hauer, Charles S. Dutton,
yep,
Gary Busey, F. Murray Abraham, and John C. McGinley, and then Ice-T.
It's directed by Ernest Dickerson, who also directed Demon Knight. And for a lot of you all who don't know any of that, he's directed a ton of The Walking Dead. Some of your favorite episodes of The Walking Dead were either directed by him or Greg Nicotero. So Ernest Dickerson's a legend in his own right. I think he started out as a DP with Spike Lee. He was director of photography for Spike.
All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Since these two movies are basically kind of the same plot. Surviving the Game or Hard Target?
Oh, Surviving the Game.
Surviving the Game. Yeah,
Surviving the Game.
Okay.
I'm glad we're all
I haven't seen it in a long time. It suffers from a budget too, I think.
Yeah.
That movie probably needed to be opened up a little bit. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Well,
I tell you that Gary, that's maybe one of Gary Busey's last good performances.
Mm-hmm.
That or Predator too. I'm actually not being really a dick. Seriously, those might be it because he has a great monologue about the dog, his dad buying him a bulldog and then making him kill it later to make him into a man. Does anybody remember this except me? It is brazened into my head that I remember it 20 years later.
That movie, by the way, during its entire run made $7,690,000.
Why has it not been a successful The Most Dangerous Game adaptation in the last 20
since
years?
the first one? Yeah, I don't
honestly, the closest is The Hunt, which I love The Hunt, but I'd like to do another version of that.
No. We all know the best version of Surviving the Game is The Pest.
Anyway, see, next on the list, Joe, is a movie nobody remembers, or I don't at least. If anybody wants to defend this one, jump in. White Fang 2, Myth of the White Wolf.
I didn't even know they made a sequel, I don't think.
$8,752,000.
That beats Surviving the Game. My God.
Hold on, let me make this worse. You know what was the highest grossing that was released this weekend?
No.
Cops and Robertsons.
Oh, Jack Palance and Chevy Chase.
Yeah, there's some exec sitting in a fucking boardroom high as a kite going, who do we have that still owes us a picture?
And put two of the biggest assholes in a movie together. I would
Jack
like
Palance an asshole?
Oh, he was psychotic, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I mean,
Yeah.
I know about Chevy, but I didn't know about Jack Palance.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories about Jack Palance being just insane,
By the
especially
way-
on Batman and City Slickers.
Oh, really? On City
They were-
Slickers?
they
But
were
they got him
terrified-
back on City Slickers.
They were
didn't they?
They almost went. They were terrified of him during City Slickers.
Well,
Yeah,
that
he
actually
just-
plays for the movie really well.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
yeah.
Because they look terrified of him. They're supposed to be terrified of him.
There's a
He's in so many movies, by the way. Jack Palance is in so many movies that were part of Mystery Science Theater 3000. And every time Jack Palance popped up on screen, you knew it was going to be a good episode for them to riff.
I need to listen to the stories about him on Batman then.
Yeah.
By the way, just real quick, do you know what the number one movie was this weekend?
No.
4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Oh.
Here's the actual story on that. It made $4 million this weekend, making it the number one with all those high quality releases. It was in its 6th weekend of limited release, and it was the first time it came in at number one, 6 weeks into limited release. Just wanted to share that.
You're still
because-
surviving the game. How sad.
And Cops and Robertsons, Joe.
Sheesh.
So
That
it made
was
$4
rough.
million, though, 6 weeks in limited release, and it kept building and building and building. So there you
That
go.
one's rough. Go ahead. What's next?
You got anything else, Chad?
um.
For April
Oh,
15th?
I'm just going to briefly mention one of these movies that I would love to see again that I can't find a copy of. It's been discontinued. The sequel to Circuitry Man 2 came out. Circuitry Man 2 Plughead Rewired came out that weekend. That's it. Move on.
Okay. So the next weekend, we epically go in, and I'll do them in reverse order. The lowest incoming, which only made $1,596,000 over its entire theatrical run, is of course the action comedy drama Chasers. Anybody want to talk about Chasers?
Well, it's directed by Dennis Hopper. It
Yeah.
stars Tom Berenger, and I don't remember the other guy. And
William
what's her face?
McNamara, Erica
and
Eleniak, Kristen
Erica
Glover.
Eleniak in her chest. It has a good scene in it. It's
Dean
actually not a
Stockwell.
bad movie. I enjoyed it when I don't for some odd reason Tom Berenger is doing a voice throughout it that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It also
Uh,
has Gary Busey in it, though.
It's not a bad movie.
It's
I
not a bad
enjoyed it when it
movie.
was 25 years ago. I enjoyed it. I remember scenes, specifically Erica Eleniak.
Yeah.
Well, it only made, sadly, $1,596,000.
But I think it's directed by Dennis Hopper. I'm almost positive.
No, it is directed by you're correct. It's directed by Dennis Hopper.
So that's the bottom of our barrel this week's. The second, making $4 million during its entire theatrical run, is the horror film Brain Scan. Anybody want to say anything about Brain Scan?
Man, brain
Edward
scans.
Furlong. Edward Furlong. It's got a weird. It's an unnatural twist ending
Yeah. It's
Where
directed by
things
John
are-
Flynn.
where things aren't as bad actually as they seem. The twist endings are usually worse, and that's a twist. Do you remember this, Chad? Do you remember the twist ending?
I, for the life of me, can't.
That it's not. It's actually in his head or something like. It really doesn't exist. It's not as bad as they seem. As bad as things seem. But that's Edward Furlong, right? That's when they
Yeah,
were.
no, it's Edward
He,
Furlong.
he
yeah,
was
absolutely.
riding that T2 fame for a while.
It's a dark movie, but yeah, I don't. But yeah,
Yeah.
I liked Brain Scan when I was a kid. It's one of those movies that I just found on a VHS shelf somewhere at a rental store, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And went home and was very entertained.
I just remember the ending and of course the poster and the character. All right, what's next, dude? Come on.
I was just letting y'all finish.
Don't wait for the translation.
The comedy, which sounds like it more of a drama to me, but The Inkwell is third this weekend. It made $8,864,000 over its entire run. Anybody want to say anything about The Inkwell?
I've never seen it.
Nope.
I know-
General plot line is a shy, troubled young man who set his own house on fire and has an imaginary friend is sent to a vineyard where he finds himself in the middle of his political arguing, party-loving family.
Sounds fun.
Good time for all. The number one film, though, making $15,187,000 during its entire run, is of course Bad Girls.
Oh,
Now,
Oh, the
wanna say
all-girl
something?
western.
yep. Interesting trivia about this though, because Andy McDowell is famous for a weird reason because of Bad Girls. Here's
No idea.
why: 4 Weddings and a Funeral finally made it to number one. Bad Girls comes in and knocks it out. Andie MacDowell became the first actress in cinema history to star in back-to-back #1 films that were different, one week after the other.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that
Useless
either.
trivia, and it's only because the week before had such bad films that Four Weddings and a Funeral hit #1, but she did have both films hit at #1.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to say anything else about Bad Girls as a Western?
No, I don't remember anything fairly redeemable about it, but I'm sure there's some people
yeah.
that love it.
All right, you got anything, Chad?
So that week also released was The Unborn 2 on April 20th. And then April 21st, a movie that I'm particularly fond of that is very dark, Swimming with Sharks.
Oh, Swimming with Sharks is good, but that's another one where the third act is dark as hell.
Yeah.
Whereas the first two acts are kind of, oh, he's horrible to him.
Yeah, and then
Still,
the
he's
third,
horrible to him.
it's one of those third acts that you just don't
Yeah.
see coming. I think it's a great film, especially the interactions between Kevin Spacey and Frank Whaley.
It's a good movie. It's probably uneven. I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit when I saw it.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen Swimming with Sharks, check it out.
Yep.
James,
All
what
right.
do you got for next week? And if this one is not on your list, the one that another one I'm going to go excited about.
I'm still sitting here thinking, you're unborn too? Sorry.
The next week, we get one Wednesday release. It's actually a concert performance film. It is, of course, Martin Lawrence's You So Crazy.
And he was.
Made
He
$10 million.
really was.
He was. Concert films.
April 29th is a loaded weekend. We get 5 films. I'll start with the lowest. The Favor made $3 million. The next one is notorious for not making money, but people knowing it because it played so much on Comedy Central. PCU made $4,333,000.
PCU has a ton of people that would go on to do stuff.
Yeah.
The next
Jon
one,
Favreau maybe being the number one out of that, Chad.
Oh yeah, definitely. Jon Favreau has to get credit for that one. Yeah.
No, I'm
yeah.
just.
Is
he the most?
Yeah,
I
he's
can't
the
remember
most.
the cast. I just remember Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau, Jeremy Pivens, David Spade.
It does have that joke I always did. I've played it on Chad before. What? You're going to wear your T-shirt to the concerts you're going to go to see? T-shirt of the band you're going to go see? Don't be.
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Don't be that.
Yeah. I'm blanking on the actor's name. He was in Becker. He's in one of my favorite bands, Hepcat. And George
No
Clinton
idea.
in the Parliament Funkadelic.
Yeah.
We've talked about PCU in our fake colleges episode.
So the next film went on to make $17,213,000. No Escape with Ray Liotta.
I love No Escape, man.
Directed
Love
by
it.
Martin
Campbell. I haven't seen it in years. I loved it.
It
as a kid.
suffers from its budget. And honestly, that's another one with a really good cast. It has Kevin J. O'Connor, who plays one of my favorite, who's actually a fantastic character actor. He's in There Will Be Blood. He's the fake brother. For some of those people, he's just a fantastic character. It doesn't get enough work, but he's in a lot of Stephen Sommers films. But
this was. I didn't realize, James, when I looked it up, that it was directed by Martin Campbell. I was shocked that it was.
I didn't remember that being directed by Martin Campbell, guys. So that's on me.
And it's Ray Liotta, Lance Henriksen, Ernie Hudson, and Stuart Wilson. Man, that movie was packed. With talent.
I think that one suffers from its budget, and I like Ray Liotta, but that Ray Liotta is not a leading man, not for that kind of movie.
And Ray Liotta is not an action star.
No. Like I said, made $17,213,000 over its entire run. It was, but also came out this weekend. I'm a bum, but I'm a Harvard bum.
I was going to say, almost said with honors right before you said the other one, because I was thinking to myself, is he going to say with honors? I didn't Google it. It's just in my head.
Am I the only one who loves with honors?
I don't love it, but I liked it.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I haven't. It's not on the shelf, but I enjoyed it when I saw it.
It's heart wrenching for me. It's one of those movies that actually made me cry. I'm not afraid to admit it.
Yeah, you lost me on. Is it when the chicken gets it?
No, it's the whole end where they're reading to him.
I'm sticking with when he cooks the roommate's chicken. That's what got you. What are you laughing about, James?
I was like, why, Joe? Out of all the scenes in that film, you went with the chicken?
Because
Genuine.
that was, to me, funny.
Um,
If
when
I
he-
said that he dies of having influenza cancer or whatever it is he's got, I
It's
mean,
cancer from the asbestos.
yeah, I can't. That's not funny. But if
No,
I
but-
talk about him eating the chicken's roommate or the roommate's chicken, whichever.
Brendan Fraser reading the letter at the end tears me up. I probably would cry to this day if I saw that. I'm
I
not
don't
afraid to
remember
admit that. I cry.
scene. But you know, the real sad part is Brendan Fraser's character did not get with honors.
Nope. Way to spoil the movie. Ass.
the movie that went on to make the most out of all these, though, for this weekend is, I want to belt it out, but I won't. When a Man Loves a Woman.
When a man
Went on to make $50
Is that Andy
million.
Garcia and Meg Ryan? She's a drunk.
Yes.
Alcoholic? I've never
She-
seen it.
She falls through a shower. That's all I remember.
I've never seen it.
By the way, though, do you know what the number one movie this weekend was?
No.
No.
It actually kind of shocked me because when I saw the weekly and the total theatrical, I thought, oh, it had to be When a Man Loves a Woman. No, the number one movie was No Escape.
Oh, well, good.
It
Wow.
came out and then it went down.
Once again, we were talking about Savoy earlier. I think that's one of those Savoy pictures. And later, if we talked about a little later in the 90s, there was a company called the Bubble Company. You were talking about the Bubble Factory. You're talking about McHale's Navy earlier. I think that's
Yeah.
one of them. The Flipper remake. Google it. There's like these huge, and then they dive.
Yeah, I remember
burst.
I remember the opening of all the bubbles going.
Bubbles. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
Hey
right.
James, what's on the next week, buddy?
Well, there's
I've got a
one,
few mentions on. I got a few mentions on this next week.
There's one movie that gets a limited release. It comes out on a Wednesday, but it goes on to make $7 million during its entire theatrical run. And I don't know too much about the film, but I want to bring it up because I personally identify with it. Widow's Peak.
I don't remember.
It stars. It's directed by John Irvin. Stars Joan Plowright, Mia Farrow, etc., etc.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't remember it.
May 6th. We're circling back to something we've talked about before. The movie that does get released that actually made so little it doesn't have a number recorded is, of course, the best Yahoo serious film, Reckless Kelly.
Oh yeah. Still can't believe you stole that one from me, you jerk.
Oh, I'm sorry, Buttercup. Being Human is the second one. It made $1,461,000 over its entire theatrical run. It is joined, however, by Clean Slate.
Oh man. Had such
Uh,
high hopes for that movie. I still find parts of it that I enjoy.
I don't remember Clean Slate. I remember the other one better. The one where he's in business and he's with Robert Loggia. Career Opportunities or something like that.
Nope.
Yeah.
We're
Uh,
talking about
It's Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey. Yeah, the other one.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
Do you know what the
I don't-
number? This wasn't the number one movie at the weekend, but it was the number one movie that came out this weekend through all of its run. Three Ninjas Kick Back. And
Oh,
if you love
God.
Three Ninjas, you have to see the sequel. Now, that being said, because those were the films that were released, and because No Escape starts to underperform, With Honors comes back and it's number one this weekend.
Mm,
Oh.
With Honors did get the number one at the box office.
Good. He finally got his honors.
So 3 movies that got released that week that didn't make the list. One of my favorite B movies, Shrunken Heads from
Okay.
Full Moon,
Mm-hmm.
directed by Richard Elfman. Captives was released on May 3rd, starring Julie Ormond and Tim Roth, about a dentist who works in a prison who falls in love with a convict. And then May 6th, gentlemen, Phantasm 3, Lord of the Dead.
Straight to the tape.
Yes.
All right, we ready for the next week?
Let's move on.
For our
gentlemen.
Phantasm fans, real quick, that's the one that actually brought back Michael What's-His-Face to play Mike or whatever, because they wouldn't let him do that in Phantasm 2.
So Michael, what's his face,
I
came
can't
back to
remember
star as Michael whatever.
yeah, basically. I don't
What's
know.
a
I'm not a
stretch?
huge Mantasm. I am.
Oh my God!
I am a
He
huge-
loves Phantasm.
I love mangasms. Can we write the movie Mangasm?
You're right, man.
Dude?
That's seeing a
Well,
circle
I-
bonehead as of today.
Yeah, I'm quitting Bonehead and writing Mangasm.
I'm pretty sure it exists.
Joe would never exist. Joe never experienced it for himself.
No, Joe
But he
never
thought-
existed either.
He thought he could create a believable mangasm.
He was constantly in pursuit of the elusive
Of the
mangasm.
mangasm.
This
Oh,
movie,
mangasms.
we get one Wednesday release, but it does go on to be the #1 movie of the week. The Crow is released on a Wednesday.
I saw it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It
I
is
seen
joined.
that picture. You ever see that picture?
Yes.
It's a good picture, gentlemen. That's a
I
real
wish I
good
could
picture.
get Alex Proyas to do our show.
I would love. Actually, I'd love that for several reasons. But
Yeah.
it doesn't have much competition. I'll be honest. I mean, a lot of people went to see it because of curiosity, and
I think
and
a lot
what
of. I
happened
think
randomly.
most studios knew that was going to come out because it had already
Yeah.
happened. If you don't, our audience knows Brandon Lee died making that movie, and there was a lot of build up to that release, and just the audience was going to go to that movie regardless. It's a great
Yeah.
film. There's no
But-
denying it.
You're leaving some stuff out. I mean, that movie, Dimension released that film, or the Miramax released that film. That was not made by Miramax. They picked that up. It was made by Paramount.
Oh, I didn't know that. God, I didn't know that, Joe.
Yes, it was made by Paramount, and I'm pretty sure they took the insurance money and ran, and then made a deal. And it's another reason why I'd love to have David Shaw on our show. David Shaw on our show. He wrote it, and it's written by Alex Proyas. David has said he'd do our show 2 years ago. He's a good friend of Mick. So if you're listening, David, I know you tune into Bonehead all the time. He doesn't.
By the way, though, it's based on the comic by J.O. Barr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've never read the comic actually, there's some beautiful scenes in it that obviously couldn't be put into the film. There's a great scene where he's being ferried to the other side on a train, and Death is coming to take his ticket, and it's very graphically, beautifully done. And there's a stallion running beside the car. There's a horse running beside the train, and he basically he sees it get tangled in barbed wire, and it's basically supposed to be a metaphor for his life that he. Anyway, it's cool. It's a cool scene that obviously wouldn't work in a film, at least with the budget they had.
Right.
But the films that come out against it that Friday are, I'm sure one of you will want to talk about the film A Million to One.
Directed and starring Paul Rodriguez, man. Paul Rodriguez was at the height of his stardom in the early 90s. He had a lot of great comedy specials. People seem to just kind of forgotten about Paul Rodriguez, and I don't know why.
It made $381,000 during its entire
It's not a good
theatrical
film.
run.
It's not a good film. I saw it.
But
It's
he
not
got $1 million to
Yeah.
one.
And then the other one that opened that did a little bit better on May 13th than A Million to One, but did not beat The Crow, is Kirkland.
Spike Lee's.
Oh, Spike Lee's Crooklyn, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it, actually.
Neither have I. I do want to briefly mention May 12th. In terms of the cheesy action genre that was the 90s of limited release, then straight to VHS. This was written by John Sayles, which I did not realize. Men of War, starring Dolph Lundgren and B.D. Wong.
I'm sorry, it was the BD. It's nothing against him, but just John Sayles, for any of you all who
B.D.
are
Wong
fans
is a
of-
great character actor, by the way. I don't know what you're hating on B.D. Wong for.
I just Dolph Lundgren and BD Wong,
Oh, that I get.
but forget it. John Sayles made a living. His money did not come from his movies. His money came from script writing. He is ghost script writing on a ton of things that you have seen. Go ahead.
James, next week.
So I said The Crow ends up being #1. Next week, there's one Wednesday release. Even Cowgirls Get the Blues, which goes on to make $1,650,000 at the box
Uma's
office.
got the big thumbs.
God, that movie, I don't understand it.
And then the movie that comes out on Friday will knock The Crow out and become #1 at the box office. And that's because anytime you can get Rockford and Mad Max together, you're going to have an entertaining film. Maverick comes out
Maverick.
and makes $183 million over its entire box office run, but it is #1 that weekend, bringing in just on that weekend $17,248,000.
It's directed by the legendary Richard Donner. and I'm not gonna hate on it. I enjoyed the hell out of Maverick. I haven't seen it in a long time. Maverick, if you're a fan of, if you like us, have been bombarded with your parents of watching 50s, 60s, and 70s westerns, there is a ton of those stars in that movie that all make cameos.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I actually can't say anything bad about Maverick.
Who can? Maverick's
I
entertaining.
like Maverick, and Maverick's written by William Goldman, I think, right?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's one of the William Goldman screenplays. It has one of the greatest lines too when it opens up. It's just been I'm doing a disservice, but it's just been a shit week, all whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alfred Molina as
It is William Goldman, by the way. You're
Yeah,
right.
I thought it was written by William Goldman. The reason I remember is because he took to task that they added a sex scene. He was never in the screenplay, and it pissed him off.
So, James, does that end your week?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me make sure. Yes, because
Okay.
next weekend there'll be next Wednesday after this. So they try to release 3 films on a Wednesday. It does not go well.
So we need to talk about this week because this is actually an important week in cinema, and it wouldn't have been on James's list. But real quick, I do want to mention that Desert Steel was released on May 18th as a shitty car racing movie. May 19th, Little Odessa, which was one of the first films directed by James Gray, Lost City of Z, Ad Astra. It starred Tim Roth, Edward Furlong, and Moira Kelly. That's all I talk about. But also this week on May 20th, the significance in Hollywood of this movie.
Say the cannoli.
I was about
The cannoli was filled with deliciousness.
No, but the impact this movie had and the significance of it is historical. We have to talk about it. On May 20th, Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar was released on VHS. It was Disney's first direct-to-VHS release. It cost, depending on the numbers you read, I got 2 different numbers. It cost $5 million to make. VHS wise, it ran total. It made $300 million.
Real quick, do you want me to jump in
that's
about
not,
that? It's
that's
funny.
not Robin Williams, right? That is.
It did not have Robin Williams.
It had Dan Castanella.
Yeah. So not to change the subject. Well, it's not change the subject. Just add a little bit to the chat if you would. I'm going to give a shout out to another YouTube channel. It's called Yesterworld. And Yesterworld does a lot of Disney history, specifically about the parks. But Yesterworld did a exhaustive 30 minutes on Disney's home video and these sequels and how some of them are, depending on which animation or company, there was 3 or 4 of them, and which one that came out. And it started with this, and it's fascinating about how, because they made a sequel to Cinderella. Let's just throw that out there.
I made 2.
It's not considered a good. There's only 1 or 2 of those that are considered decent. I think one of them's the Tinkerbell movie, and then something else I can't remember. But and some of the Beauty and the Beast ones are god awful. Supposedly the animation's awful.
Yes,
but they cashed in at the box office for about 7 or 8, or box office for home video for 7 or 8 years there.
Return of Jafar in the first 2 days of its release sold 1.5 million copies, guys. Now, the significance of this, not only is it that studios can make money off movies that get released just to VHS, they don't have to go to the studio. Those independent companies that relied on VHS dollars had to actually up their game. They realized that now they're going to have a competing market with all these big studios who are going to release movies straight to VHS, and they had to put a lot more money into their products. And in some cases, it doomed a lot of them because they just couldn't keep up with the quality that the big studios was dealing with. So, Return to Jafar we have to talk about because it may not have had a box office release, but man, in terms of what it did to Hollywood and our viewing from that point on, changed drastically.
I highly recommend Yesterworld. Yesterworld, check them out on YouTube and watch their video about Disney home video. They do a fantastic job with this.
All right, James, let's go on to the next week because we're going to wrap up, and we're going to as we get to June 1st, we're going to wrap up and do part 2 of the second half of 1994.
Yep.
May 25th, that Wednesday, 3 films come out. The lowest earning is a film called Federal Hill. Anybody know anything about Federal Hill?
No.
I'd be shocked if you did. It only made $175,000 during its entire theatrical run. However, The next highest was Little Buddha, which made $7,793,000 during its entire run. The final Wednesday release that got gobbled up by another film that gets released on Friday is Beverly Hills Cop 3.
John Landis.
Made $119 million.
I didn't realize it made that much money, and that was considered not a successful film.
No. And it's dreadful.
Oh, it's. I haven't seen it in a long time. I doubt that it improved.
But you want to know the movie on Friday that came out Friday and absolutely smashed it and actually made some pretty serious records?
What?
Meet the Flintstones. Have a yabba dabba doo time. A just for you time. You'll have. Do you know how big the Flintstones were coming out May 29th, which would have been Memorial Day weekend?
I saw it in the theater.
I
was
did too.
there.
I did too.
I was there, yeah.
That is what I actually saw. So I guess I saw Lightning Jack and the Flintstones in
Oh,
theater.
look at you. Mr. Moneybags got to go to the movie
I got to see
twice
two. I did get
in
to see
5
two.
months.
That being said, here's how big it was when you put it in perspective. The Flintstones broke Indiana Jones and the Last Crusades record for a Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, man, really?
And on top of that, it broke the Fugitives record for the highest weekend debut at the time for any movie based on a television show. It made $30 million its opening weekend and would go on to make $358 million. Almost 359, actually. So we now, most people don't talk about the Flintstones live action with Rick Moranis, John Goodman, speaking of pretty phenomenal, Rosie O'Donnell. People don't talk about it, but it was a huge, huge hit at the time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, actually, oddly enough, it changed the way computer animation worked because they were obsessed with getting the fur on the cat right. And so Dino was a relatively easy, it's a lizard-like computer animation. It wasn't an issue. But when they had to do the cat for Fred to kick out at night, they wanted it to actually look like fur. And at the time, I guess, most of the computer animation that was going on was smooth. And so they actually went back and doubled the budget on just animating that stupid cat, which is not even a major part of the plot. But they were obsessed with getting it right. I read speaking of exhaustive reviews, I read an entire exhaustive interview once with the guy whose job that was. And he said, we had to show fur. It couldn't look smooth. It had to look like fur. So
interject, plug. We had the production designer, William Sandell, Bill Sandell. He talked about the movie, had very fond memories. Check out that episode with William Sandell. All right. Yeah. I had to throw that out there, but if you're a big fan. Gentlemen, when was the last time you saw it? I saw it when it came out and maybe a little bit after that, but I doubt that I've seen that movie in 25, 26 years ago. I haven't seen it since then.
I showed it to my daughters a couple of years ago.
And?
They liked it. For me, it doesn't hold the...
Does the production still look good? And just
the production? Oh, no. So production quality and everything still looks amazing. William Sandell still. Me and William Sandell talked about that during our episode. But the movie itself, there are parts that just don't hold up.
So the movie looks good. The movie
looks
bad.
Amazing. It's just the plot.
I don't think I've ever seen the sequel. Viva
I haven't.
Las
With
Vegas.
Stephen Baldwin? No.
I've never seen it.
Do you know it's directed by Brian Levant, right?
Yeah.
And just FYI, if you don't know Brian Levant, he actually directed a bunch of TV series works, but just relevant to you people that like this, he's also going to be one of the producers for the new Police Academy film. So that's good for you people, I guess. He's also currently online to direct the new Police Academy film. For those interested, some of his more recent directing works include A Christmas Story 2, Scooby-Doo, Curse of the Lake Monster, Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins, The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas.
Is that animation? Those are animated movies he directed?
Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins is a TV movie, but it's actually done with puppets, I believe. We own it.
Oh.
My kids have it. But he also directed the Beethoven and Problem Child too.
Yeah.
So just FYI, I mean he's directed some interesting things. But no, actually I should say Scooby Doo: The Mystery Begins is live action. It just stars none of the people you remember.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I just want to point out it was a huge hit. We do get one Saturday release, which made no money, called The Last Spring. I don't know anything about that one. But that is all of May from what I've got. Chad,
it really came out during the summer, so
2 movies I want to talk about. We're going to end on a note, especially if he actually made it all the way through this. May 25th, we have Free Fall, starring the powerhouse duo of Eric Roberts and Jeff Fahey.
2 actors I love, but have been in more turkeys than stuffing.
Yeah, can't argue that. And then May 31st, guys, this was supposed to be the release date of this movie. The Fantastic Four, directed by Ole Sassoon and production designed by our friend and lover, Mick Strawn.
And check out that episode with Ole Sassoon and Mick Strawn talking about the Fantastic Four.
In the Bonehead Archives.
Exclusive on Bonehead.
So we actually end our part 1 on 1994 with a movie that actually was supposed to be released and didn't. So there we go. But
if you can find the original theatrical poster they sent out, you got some money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you all so much. Next week we will finish out 1994. I don't have any other way to end this, but it was guys talking to you all. The audience, not the
I mean,
people on the show.
We have I mean, there's some big things coming up.
Yeah, we haven't got to
They're
the
really
big
before
movies.
we didn't get to the meat of 1994, the stuff that really wrecked everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to talk about what happened at the first part of June, gentlemen.
All right.
Spoilers alert, Baby's Day Out's going to come up later.
This has been Bonehead.